All right, Derrick, it finally happened, or it's happening. Kevin Owens against CM Punk in the modern WWE era. It's not a surprise to see two baby faces talking trash to each other with gray hair. And that's what we got again tonight. I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing out another two baby faces where the fans are like, we like you. And then by the end, you're like, oh, you made some good points. Maybe Punk is a phony who wasn't nice to people behind the scenes and blah, 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 and all that. But honestly, I mean, if we're going to have an exception, and that's kind of been the case, like these are compelling matchups between baby faces. And, Kevin Owens is great. He was great against Punk. And he and Sammy were magic again. So, for a post SummerSlam kind of fresh set of circumstances, this is a good one. Give me your thoughts, Derrick.
I'll start positive and then I'll hit the negative, but I think you expressed both points. The positive is it's fresh. It's novel. We've never seen them wrestle. And I think it will be interesting not only to see them in the ring square off, but just tonight. There is an energy when they were looking at each other. My favorite part of the promo is actually before they talked on the mics when they were just looking at each other and talking. Like it felt tense. It felt tense. And there probably is some underlying tension there.
Hey, Kale's friends with the Bucks in real life.
Yeah, that's like can bring out good stuff if you can remain professional, which I think both guys are committed to do. And then it will be fresh in the ring as well. The negative is, once again, as you mentioned, it is forcing fans to at least some extent to pick a side who they agree with more or who they agree with the most.
It didn't seem like Punk had a lot of material for KO. It was more KO saying things about Punk that is kind of a theme. I'll even throw up Chris Rucker's comment here in the chat. It's funny, every wrestler Punk has feuded with since returning, even in AEW, has a beef with him for being a piece of shit to them. I mean, yeah, they're, it's like what's the saying about if everybody you meet all day is an asshole, you might be the asshole.
Yes.
I thought there were some biting comments from KO, but I also thought it didn't enter any meta nonsense. And so Seth set the bar for that. No one's gotten to that level where it's just, there's a rebellion. And I do think there's a bit of a course correction. I think WWE has realized, okay, we're not going to do that. We're going to do callbacks to indie scene gripes. Punk, you should wear a t-shirt when you wrestle Kevin Owens. That's not in WWE canon, but there is people can find out online. And as Cody Rhodes says, and I always quote him, you shouldn't need shoulder content to understand what's happening on the main show. And I get that. But like you said, you could tell there's tension here. And they introduced enough that said, okay, Punk paved the way. And Kevin Owens says, I appreciate it. And Punk did not need to say, he self-deprecatingly said, they call me skinny fat. They meaning Paul Levesque. Just to be clear. There could have been others, but Paul Levesque. And then he's like, so they didn't want me, but I managed to get here because I call myself the best in the world. And I had the bravado and the arrogance and the confidence to make it happen. And you're here because of that. Do you think they were waiting around for you? And then he looks at his gut, like Kevin Owens' gut, and look at you. If you think Skinny Fat wasn't going to get a contract, Beer Gut McGee isn't going to get one either. He didn't say that. I said it. Sorry. But yeah, the off mic stuff I didn't pick up on, so I'm not quite sure what they said. I tried to replay it. I couldn't pick up on it. And the off mic stuff can seem a little performative, or it's the new work. Oh, they're really mad at each other and they don't want us to hear what they're saying. And it's a little bit of an eye roll, but visually the optics of it worked. And I'm with you, Derrick. I think this feels, just my phrase of the summer: let us buy in. And I felt that this segment allowed us to buy in without taking us out of the breaking down the fourth wall.
And as well is not only did they not dive into the meta, they still made it about winning the championship is the most important thing here.
Yep.
And I don't mind the meta as long as at the end of the day, we're talking about the importance of winning and becoming the champion, because that is the goal. And that's why we watch the matches.
For clarity, when I'm against meta when it says they made you world champion because you're marketable and you look the part for on a poster better.
Amen.
That I'm never okay with. I don't think ever on a wrestling show should you talk about the result of a match is determined by somebody else. You shouldn't allude to that. especially because the easy fix is you got more opportunities than you deserved because you look good on posters. Easy way to fix it. So don't say you were made champion because of XYZ. Say you had more opportunities to win the championship and they looked the other way when they wouldn't have with me. That stuff works. And these two are smart. I mean, say what you will about what KO say. Dude, you must be so lonely on that pedestal you put yourself on. And
good line. Good line.
Yep. I mean, KO's going to have them, and I wish Money in the Bank was 3 months away. Well, maybe I'd be sick of it. Maybe less is more, but So just I want to be clear. The meta that I'm against is not references to the indie scene. The meta when I am making references, and maybe I should have a better term and not overuse that. It's when you introduce into the narrative the idea that championship matches are not determined based on a real fight in the ring. That's a story they're telling. They should stick to it, and then fans can buy into that world that they create. And it's so cheap and lame and eye-rolling to try to go, well, I'm going to do what CM Punk did in a way with a pipe bomb, and I'm going to break the fourth wall and talk about how fake it is to score points with you. And it's like, stop that. That's utter nonsense.
Yeah. Just a blanket statement I'll make is anything that you say that undermines the competition that occurs in the ring is a net negative in allowing me to buy into pro wrestling, and I will always push back against it.
Exactly. Yep. So what are they? Well, first of all, anything else stand out in the promo exchange from you? Is there anything else you want to bring up that you liked or didn't like in this? I know you said you're going to talk about the good and the bad, and anything else you want to add, Derrick?
I like that Kevin Owens got the final line. I like, and it was like a biting comment, and it led to the shove. And then I like that they didn't brawl. It almost was more tense and more aggressive because it feels more real when guys aren't throwing worked punches at each other on day one. And I thought this was like an opening, like this is the opening shots. And then you can allow things to either heat up or cool down, leading to their first encounter, which I think they said was at the end of the month. And then going forward, I wouldn't mind, and they haven't done this for a while, so I think it would feel fresh, where if they had more dominant heels, you could have CM Punk and Kevin Owens be partners of convenience, where they earn each other's respect and then fight off heels. And I think that makes both of them better baby faces and tells a more well-rounded stories that leaves them in a better place.
Yep. All right, let's pause and introduce ourselves briefly here, and then we'll throw up a couple more chat comments, and then we'll get to Sean and Darrell, who are on hold, to join us as callers on the show. This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show for Friday, August 7th, 2026. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, and founder of the Pro Wrestling Torch Weekly newsletter and the website PWTorch.com. I also host the Wade Keller podcast. In addition to this, Wade Keller Post shows. I also have dogs who sometimes bark during podcasts, Derrick.
These are my parents' dogs. I'm watching their house.
Yeah. No problem. That's the show. And search for Wade Keller on your podcast app, Apple Podcast, Spotify, any iOS or Android app. Subscribe if you haven't yet. The red logo show is the post shows, and the green, where did green come from? The blue logo show is the regular podcast format where we pre-record them. The blue shows are never on YouTube. And they are more traditional podcast format. Rich Fan and I had a blast on the flagship earlier this week, going in depth on a variety of topics, including Brock Lesnar, Dory Funk Jr., SummerSlam Fallout, and more. So check that out if you haven't yet. We also have some great flashback articles on both feeds. So if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast. If you're listening to us on the podcast, you're invited to join us live on the YouTube channel. We go live usually 5 or 10 minutes, and when we have technical issues, 15 minutes after the show's end, as happened today. And you can join us live. Just search PWTorch or Wade Keller on YouTube, and you can find our shows, and you can subscribe. You can also find a direct link in my TV reports, written reports, a cover start to finish, in depth with analysis, Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The link is in my TV report. It changes every show, so that link will take you to our live post show. And also, we include a separate link to be a caller. And that's how Sean and Darrell got in the waiting room. And you are invited, if you're watching us live, to be a caller. We'd love to have somebody who has been a wallflower to debut now or soon. So if you're listening to us on the podcast side of things, consider this a formal invite to put your face or at least your voice on the show and join the conversation. Also, I haven't mentioned it a lot lately, but we won't mind hearing from some on-site correspondents who attend shows. If you want to join us and talk about being at the arena, You can arrange for that by emailing wadekellerpostshow@gmail.com, wadekellerpostshow@gmail.com, and let me know that you're interested in being an on-site correspondent. Just give me a little bit of notice, and we'll arrange for a time that works for you to be on. All right. Join us live in the chat if you're watching us on YouTube. Email us at wadekellerpostshow@gmail.com if you'd rather do that. And I'll now introduce my co-host, Derrick Hubbard. He is a PWTorch contributor. He is watching his parents' dogs, and we're great. It's great to have him in the co-host chair again. Derrick, welcome.
Wade, thanks for having me. I enjoy talking pro wrestling. I don't get to do it enough. Most of the time I just watch by myself. So having someone to talk to about it is definitely different for me. Most of the time I'm just having dialogue with myself about the stuff I like or hate. So it's good.
Love it. Love it. You're welcome, and appreciate and enjoy your analysis and our conversations as a caller and now more long form. Tell people, by the way, about you joining the PWTorch team and the columns that you write, the theme, and also the latest one that you just put up.
Yeah, so I write an article weekly called Then, Now, and Forever, where I choose a theme that hopefully is somewhat relevant to what's happening in wrestling today, and then show examples of that scene from back in the day, something recent, and probably the best example of it. So the one I did this week was about SummerSlam show stealers, those matches in SummerSlam's history that were the matches that everyone was talking about the night of and the night after the event was over.
Awesome. All right. Well, I said we'd include some chat comments, so let's do it. By the way, just so people know, my browser's reframing slowly. So if I'm trying to, I don't know if am I sounding good? Is my picture good, or is it kind of glitchy?
There was a little glitchy at the beginning, but I haven't noticed anything since.
Yeah, but I'm switching Wi-Fi. I switched Wi-Fi like a week.
And now it just kicked him off. So it might just be me talking about pro wrestling. So maybe I'll look at some of the chants. About pro wrestling. So it looks like Mark thinks that KO has a chance of taking the strap. Toronto isn't a bad choice. I would say that seems a little bit early for his journey, but I think it would definitely appease the live crowd, so it would be excited for them. The fact that he's in the title picture right off the bat, I think is promising for him, especially given the fact that given how long he's been in pro wrestling, we don't know how many years KO has left. So as for your comment, Mark, if KO was to win, I would be satisfied but somewhat surprised, I would say. They're interested in hearing my thoughts on Jade's in-ring performance tonight. I'm not going to blame all on Jade. I thought the match was shaky at best. The worst part of the match was the finish. The last two spots they hit were botched. And I think if they would have stuck the landing, I would have said it was passable. But because they didn't, I think it left people with a bad taste in their mouth, even if they got a quite exciting debut from Tatum Paxley, who, if you watched her journey on NXT, you're probably like me, where you're excited to see what she does, and it was quite promising that she was introduced at the end of the show in a top level main event. So for Tatum, I hope that's a good sign for things to come. She's definitely a quirky, interesting character who, if you've watched NXT, it's one of those exciting stories where you've seen her progress and get better from year to year, where now that she's on the main roster, if you've been watching her journey, you probably feel like I feel, which is she's ready. Let's push play and see where she goes. So I'm excited for Tatum, and it seems like a lot of you guys are as well. Adam Kidd agrees. The main event was sloppy.
Thanks, yes. Derrick, for taking over as my my technical issues, whatever they were, kicked in. Go ahead, finish your thought. I didn't mean to.
There was some comments about the main event. They mentioned the sloppiness of it. Yeah. Definitely apparent. And I know Jade will take the burden of the blame for it, but I won't lie. A lot of times Charlotte looks very shaky to me as well. It almost feels like she doesn't have her feet under her anymore. And a lot of times she lacks confidence. I think if they would have hit those last two spots after Tatum's debut, it would have been a passable match, but the fact that they didn't stick the landing, I think, leaves a bad taste in people's mouths.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So let's throw some comments up on Punk KO and comment on those again if I can get my browser to cooperate. Darrell says it was good they started. There's such a annoying lag here. I apologize to listeners for that with my issues here. Hold with me is okay. Now things seem to be rolling here. Sean Plish just says, yeah, KO's not been likable as a character for most of his run. I'll throw to you, Derrick, on that. I don't think we kind of covered, like, did you, do you think there's a desire to steer us one way or the other in how that they are presenting this so far? Or is this just a pick 'em? You guys go give it your best shot. KO says, bring it. Punk says, bring it. We'll let the fans decide. I'm confident I can hold my own. And there's no like, and I'm not, by the way, I am in favor of promoters having an idea of who they want fans to cheer and boo in most cases, but sometimes you just don't. What do you think's happening here?
My initial thought was a pick 'em, but then when I think of how the segment played out and I know how they're designed, the fact that they gave Kevin Owens the last line, I think they were asking the fans more to give him the ending favorable response, which if anything was to steer somebody one way, it would be to steer on Owens' side because he got the last line.
How do you think the crowd will respond? Punk's been around more. He's been a stand-up guy. He says, I'm not happy, Cody. We'll talk about Cody and Punk. Obviously, that's another big segment here, follow up to the SummerSlam match. But Punk was a stand-up guy. He goes, Cody, I'm mad. I'm not as mad as you, but I'm mad at Randy Orton interfering. He said something along those lines on the post show too. So, Punk is not like saying outlandish things or acting selfish or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think also CM Punk's one of those Teflon characters where his qualities that as a human you would say are vice are some of the reasons that people like him. Yep. Like if I call CM Punk a prick, I think that's the people who are the most ardent fans of CM Punk. His prickliness is what they like about it.
Yeah.
So it's like criticizing somebody for something they take pride in, and they kind of just own it. So as long as he doesn't become too defensive, I think the fans who support him, that is the reason they support him. And Kevin Owens is kind of the same. Like he's got this toxic sarcasm that when you see it, toxic sarcasm, if it's played off against a babyface that people like a lot, it's heelish. But even when it's heelish, you're like, well, that was a good line. Well, that was a good comeback. And it's a likable quality because it's a defining characteristic that makes him who he is.
And KO is being entertaining shouldn't like be the be all end all in terms of whether you get cheered or booed. But there is something so self-confident, matter of fact, and distinct about Kevin Owens' delivery that it makes him, somebody who you want to be sympathetic to whatever argument he's making when he makes it, because there is a quick wit, just a matter of fact, dry delivery to what he does. And so, yeah, I mean, it's fascinating watching these two go at it. Derek Mitchell says Punk and KO were like a first-round boxing match where both boxers are just feeling each other out. I think that's a really good analogy, Derek. Yes, appreciate that. And we'll get more. Derek Mitchell also says, I find myself rooting for KO in this title chase, but ultimately no, Kevin Owens won't win the WWE title from Punk. Do we know that?
The fact that Sami Zayn won the title out of nowhere, the fact that they do that every so often allows for those possibilities to still be on the table, which makes you invested in the matches, even if you deem it to be unlikely. Mm-hmm. So I think it's smart to have those out of the blue changes every now and then, because it keeps us on our edge the edge of our seats, wondering, could it happen this time? And that's how I feel about KO winning the championship. It's a great feel-good story, and if it happened in Toronto, that would be an astounding pop and a huge feel-good story for a lot of the long-term fans of Kevin Owens, the guy who was almost lost his wrestling career and came back after 17 months. I mean, that's a story that even the most jaded fan would cheer for, right?
Yep. Another comment from Derrick, and then we'll go on to some other people's comments. I was really looking forward to this from Kale's perspective. It's easy to see why he'd resent Punk, as he comes across as condescending and full of himself, much like Aaron Rodgers, and hard to root for. I've heard the Aaron Rodgers comparison with CM Punk before. I don't think it's entirely wrong. I think they're different people, and I don't think they go to the ballot box with the same issues in mind, for instance. But, I get it. Yeah.
They're stubbornly, their opinions there's a stubbornness to how they see themselves and see the world that's probably at odds with a lot of other people, and they're not willing to change, even if they say they are.
Yeah. And like, as I said with Punk, I think there's so many times he's been right. And like, I think he's right about most things in wrestling and otherwise. Like, not all. I mean, I don't, but by the time he's done explaining how right he is and how foolish you are not to see things exactly as he sees them, you resent him being right. Yes. And that happens when he tries to get things to change behind the scenes in AEW or WWE. We see it. There's something about his delivery that comes across as, you're right, but now, just to spite you, I'm going to go against my own beliefs because you piss me off, because you're being a punk.
And I think most people in their lives, whether it's a coworker or a parent when you're younger, has had that experience. Whereas that's somebody who you just want them to be wrong. It doesn't even matter if you lose because they're wrong. You just want them to be wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Vinny Guakin says, I think KO is the latest to call Punk out for being a thin-skinned fraud. Everybody has their summary of KO's characterization of Punk here, but
all accurate.
Yes, I mean, Punk has been thin-skinned. I don't want this to turn into a whole psychoanalysis of Punk, but I mean, it's right. It's here tonight on SmackDown. I mean, we're not out of nowhere bringing it up. That is how Punk's being portrayed. I don't know. You wonder. I don't know. This is sort of parenthetical to this, but how much more popular and how much more of a draw would Punk be if he didn't spend every feud having wrestlers who people respect and like, or who are just really articulate and persuasive, make a case that maybe you're worshiping a Punk is ignoring a lot of things that if you knew him a little better, you wouldn't like him so much.
It might kind of start erasing some of his authenticity, though. Because once again, I think the things that I see in him that are vice from a human perspective are some of the reasons that people like him unapologetically. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and he owned it tonight. I mean, he did say that it was in the storyline of his character, but saying I'm the best in the world might grate on people, might rub people the wrong way. But that arrogance is what got me here with my skinny fat body. I mean, that's what got me into a company that hired people who look different than me. Mr. Rock City 86, welcome to the chat. He says, I need to see KO beat Punk. He deserves another title run after all the amazing work he has done this past decade. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to hand out title shots because someone deserves it because they worked hard. I think that you should be world champion because it's the best story that they can tell of all options. When you start giving it out like gold watches, or because someone was a good employee, or it's been a long time. That will help break a tie. Like, if you're not sure, shouldn't we? Well, this guy's been XYZ. Let's do it. If somebody has been the opposite, then you might not do it. That said, I'm not against it, and I'm not even against hot potato with title belts, Derrick. I'm every once in a while, I kind of like the idea that in a 8-month period or a 14-month period, the title changes 6 times, and then have someone hold it for a year and a half or 2 years. That cadence is, I think, keeps you on edge a little bit. So it's like having your secondary moves win a match semi-regularly. Yeah. So you don't just go, well, it wasn't his finisher, so he's going to kick out. There's things you do just to keep people on edge. So I'm not against KO. And then we've got Sammy in the mix, and their interaction was great. So you could have KO beat Punk, and then Sammy get a shot, win or not. And then you got Cody waiting in the wings, and who knows what happens with Randy Orton. So.
And I'm not like you mentioned, follow the story if it's the best story to tell at the time. I'm also a guy who says follow the momentum, where if that story has momentum and you can feel it building from week to week, then even if it's not in your plans, that's sometimes where you're like, screw the plan, we got to play the hot hand, and I'm for that sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes.
Yep. I don't think Titus O'Neil should have been WWE champion, but I think when there was that little sliver of time when the crowd is really, really into him, they could have gotten more out of him.
Yes.
But they told themselves, well, he's got 2 left feet and he's, he doesn't take whatever. I don't want to, like, they had their criticisms of him, and it came over time. We kind of said, okay, he's not a guy you want to build around.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just go for it. Now we're in the Danhausen phase where they've overdone it, but nevertheless.
He was on the show tonight, though.
I know. Yes. Thank you.
In fact, I don't think there was any frivolous comedic segment tonight at all.
No, there was. R-Truth thought Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, and Hawk and Animal were 3 teams.
But I laughed at that, though. So.
Well, I'm just some weeks R-Truth's better than others, but we had every week R-Truth says something and Priest corrects him. We still had that. Yeah. So. Okay,
I like Priest, that dynamic, though. Priest playing the straight man who's not mean to Truth per se, but does correct him, and he's like your friend who's annoying as all hell, but you keep him around because it's hard for you to admit that you're amused by him as well.
Yes, yeah, his exasperation and instant forgiveness is a trait we see weekly. Mark Biscotti says Punk and KO have their own versions of the realest guy in the room characters. They didn't feel like they tore each other down so much as making me feel like I'm a fly on the wall of a heated moment. I think that's fair. I think that's what they're going for.
Yep.
Too. Yep.
I felt it. That was the tense atmosphere that was created from the start.
Yep. There's a comment along those lines here that I will scroll to if I can. Well, I'll get to it when I get to it. I will not go out of order here. JF Pollard says Punk and Owens are 2 of the few in the industry who can make it feel real and personal. Sean Plikta says, yeah, they need to let it simmer. I love Punk saying he can handle it without fighting. Mark Biscotti says Punk looked to Aldis to do something before it got physical. It was subtle, but it added a nice touch. Interesting. Standard Deviation said Punk Owens was absolutely fantastic. One of the best promos I've seen in a year. Powder Pete says, I agreed. I think the best part about Punk's promo is making the title mean the most.
Yeah.
All right. I know I had something else highlighted here, though. Oh, here's what I was looking for. Vinny had said, I like the little subtlety of trying to hear Punk and KO trash talk without mics in the beginning. Anytime, Derrick, you can get someone to lean into the sound bar because they want to hear what's being said, that's a win. I mean, that means, there's a lot of shouting and you kind of can tune it out or whatever. It feels performative and all, but if you're leaning in to try to pick up on what wrestlers are saying, you care, and it means you're buying into it. All right. So let's see. I know we've got some more comments here. Standard Deviation says Punk conducts himself as a consummate professional on camera. So the repeated jabs at his personal flaws in real life begin to feel less authentic the longer viewers see him as a professional on TV. Interesting. So he is on good behavior on TV, except that 1 week a few months ago where he was mad at somebody online and he was just in a mood and he was just raging on TV. And I asked around and I was like, I heard, oh yeah, he was really mad at somebody on social media, and that's where that comment came from. And a few weeks ago, he said something about some online people have things to say about him. So every once in a while, it slips through that it feels like it. If with everything that's said just in canon in WWE, it feels like it takes a lot of willpower for Punk to be the professional, level-headed, plain-spoken, calm guy that he is the vast majority of the time on TV. But there is something to what Standard Deviation says in the chat, which is it going to start to ring hollow when people go, oh, you're a jerk, when they don't really see a lot of that. I mean, there's a footage of him in the elevator lobby and, years and years ago with a fan in the crowd and what happened with that press conference in AEW. I mean, there's plenty for eyes to see, but on WWE TV, I mean, he gets a, 5 out of 5 score on, the good employee ranking.
Yeah, and it's in canon as well. The other part of the promo that I appreciated is when Cody came out and they didn't hide from the fact that Randy Orton changed the outcome of the title match. They brought it up, and they brought it up in a respectable manner. And also, he was the honorable champion who says you deserve a rematch. And I didn't know Randy was there, and I appreciated that. That was something that should have been underlined and highlighted, and they underlined and highlighted it in the opening promo before they went on to the next thing.
Yeah, yeah. Standard Deviation says, I rewound and turned up the volume when they were talking off mic, so it worked on me. LOL. Arlay 1984 says, Wade, honestly, I don't try to think about the behind-the-scenes characters when analyzing promos because I probably hate every one of them in different ways. Hey, you know what? Hey. There's something about love the art, not the artist. Don't just the ignorance is bliss is a cliche or a saying for a reason.
Well, there's that saying too, don't meet your heroes, or don't, and nowadays it's more like don't look up your heroes online to see the skeletons in their closet and to find out the things about them that are unsavory that make you like them less.
Yeah. Yep. Let's enjoy the entertainment. I mean, obviously there's a line someone can cross. You're like, I'm going to go out of my way to not support them. But there is something about how public, like, there's a lot of things in the pre-internet era about people who were famous, and a lot of unfamous people who, you know, in other eras, it just, there wasn't a way to find this stuff out. And now it is just, it's humans on Earth, you know, whatever. All right. Standard Deviation says, I feel like they've sufficiently signposted to me that KO is a guy I'm supposed to get behind. Tonight's framing was clearer than usual for me. Interesting.
I could feel that too. I could feel that too. But the default from the guy who's coming back from a career-ending neck injury, the default is you should have kind of an aura of good feeling about their return and wanting to see them to succeed at the highest level.
Yep. Back to Aaron Rodgers. Vinny Watkins says, yeah, CM Punk and Aaron Rodgers are very similar characters. I say this as a Steelers fan and someone that used to love Punk as a kid in 2011. It comes up semi-regularly for a reason, for sure. All right. Chris Rucker says, Punk made fun of Rock about his Goosebumps motion, but then he did it tonight during KO's entrance. What an asshole.
So you're saying he's a hypocrite? He is a hypocrite, let's be honest, in many ways.
Yes. I thought Punk, I probably don't have the context here, but Sean, I thought Punk was genuine, but it did look awful. LOL. We'll ask him what that's about. Adam Kidd says, yeah, Punk just naturally comes off as an asshole. Oh, this is something. Standard Deviation said, Punk mock clapping Kevin Owens after KO spoke about being out for 17 months. Position KO is the guy you're supposed to cheer the most. So there's a specific example.
And I had a hard time reading that. Like, I didn't know if it was like a legitimate clap or like a sarcastic clap. Because initially I was thinking sarcasm, but then it almost seemed a little bit more like heartfelt congratulations. I didn't know how to read that.
I was about to say the same thing. Because I type up reports for people who don't see the show or they want to see what I'm saying about the show online while the show's on the air. By the way, check out my reports at PWTorch. You know, have a tab or browser open, get away from social media or whatever. I mean, if you just watch the show without a second screen, that'd be my first recommendation. If you're watching the show, just settle in and watch. At commercial breaks, open up your phone or laptop, see what I'm saying about it. That's cool. And in my report, I struggled to characterize it. I think I took out sarcastic or mock clapped, but I had it typed in and I deleted it. And I was like, because all of a sudden I heard thumping and I was looking at my computer screen and I looked up and it's like, what's that thumping noise? Like someone was hitting a bass drum, but it was Punk clapping and the mic was making a bass drum sound and the cadence was slow, which is normally when you're mocking somebody, but nothing else about it said mocking. It almost came across like, I am going to respectfully acknowledge that I'm happy that you're back without being obnoxious to interrupt your cadence, KO, while you're talking. Like, I just think it could have been read wrong. And by the way, I'm told one of the things that has frustrated Punk over the years, I'm getting a psychoanalysis here, is he feels like he gets bewildered at people's reactions to him because they get interpreted either differently than he intended or they reveal more than he think he revealed in the way he reacted to something. Mm-hmm. And that is a source of frustration, according to people I know who have talked to him and been around him, with him, that he doesn't understand people's reactions to what he does. And it kind of gets into, I think he sees himself as very socially aware, very self-aware of how he comes across, very confident as a communicator. So, but he also, I don't know if it's thin skin is the right word, but he really reacts poorly to people misinterpreting what he meant or reading more into what he did. And this might be like a small example of that. Like there's something about the way that he interacts with other humans that causes that leads to misunderstandings, which then sets him off because it's so frustrating for him. And it's super, but I think it's subtle enough where you could kind of see, like, maybe I'm making more out of this than I should, but maybe this is the type of thing that happens where he does something, he needs nothing by it, and we think he's being a dick.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm kind of defending him and saying that. I'm not sure. I'm just talking. All right. Let's see. Okay, well, there's a couple more comments and we'll get to calls. Adam Kidd says, I love Punk and KO. I'm happy either way. I'm just going to enjoy the ride. Yeah, the ride to the match. That's kind of how I feel. I mean, they're so good on microphone. And I mean, there's a chance they get under each other's skin in a legit way. I don't think they should like aim for that to be part of the story, but reading body language and, you know, it's like Rock and Cena and Punk and Cena and all the things we've seen where it's like, you know, if these two aren't best friends, maybe that's a moment where you're gritting one of them is gritting their teeth, not wanting. I think Kevin Owens, it genuinely is secure enough. Like I think he's like, I got my family, I got my career. I'm grateful to have this chance to be back in the ring. I can't believe with my gut that WWE ever hired me in the first place. You know, he'd be self-deprecating about that. And to
piggyback on a lot of the positive comments, I think this was like one of those. We always kind of wanted to see what it would be like when Kevin Owens and CM Punk stood face to face. It set the right mood, and now it's going to be open for over psychoanalysis and over analyzing things and all of these other nuances. And that's because we're so interested in it, because it set that standard of, oh, I want to see this. This intrigues me. This definitely has my engagement. And at this point, my enthusiasm.
Yes. As entertaining as Sammy is, being insecure, there's something fascinating about two extremely well-spoken, quick-witted, quick-thinking, clever people going back and forth on the mic who both want to be seen as... I mean, I think KO knows his career won't match CM Punk's in whatever sort of old newsstand magazine realm of title reigns and drawing power and main events and all that. But I think, like I said, I think Kevin Owens is super happy with his life. I don't know. I mean, I think he's happy with his life. I think he'd rather not have missed 17 months with a health issue. But he comes across as somebody who just he's happy with himself in his life. And Punk comes across as somebody who's so unhappy with other people he can't be happy with his life too often. Yeah.
And there's a healthy competition and also a nice juxtaposition to they have similarities, but it's their differences that is going to distinguish them from each other, which is going to make it. It could lead to conflict, but it also could make it very complementary in building fan interest.
I want them to not get infatuated with what you just said, even though that will inevitably be part of it. I want it to seem like that's happenstance, almost accidental, a parenthetical, a sidebar. I want the focus not to be, how can we get under each other's skin? I want it to be, what can I say about this match that will give me a mental edge going into it? And then it just happens to be what we're talking about. That's fascinating. But I want Kevin Owens, I want it to come across. I don't need the announcers to explain it to us in an expository sort of way. Look at KO. He is trying to get into Punk's mind and overdo it. But I don't mind a little hint. Like Kevin Owens said that. You can see in Punk's face, that threw him off. KO knows one of his advantages after all his time away from the ring, and Punk's been, he's been gassed in the ring lately, but but they can tell the story. Punk has his legs under him, his wrestling legs, and KO has been gone for a year and a half. KO deep down might be a little insecure about what if he's going to be able to keep up with Punk, or how everything's going to health-wise going to work out for him. So he needs the advantage to get in Punk's head and under his skin, and then vice versa. Punk is a master at mind games. So I want the story to be they're playing head games with each other to try to get a mental edge going into the match, not, hey, let's all hold up scorecards to see who won on insults. And I think it's a small difference, but it makes all the difference in the world, I think, for fans to be able to buy in and be thinking about the right thing when they're watching it.
And the one way you can always correct course if you start veering off what you just said is make it about the match and make it about winning the match. At the end of the promo, that's what we should take. Is this is a very important match, and it's very important for each of these guys to win, because not only is it beating the other guy, but it's beating the other guy for the biggest prize in the industry. That should be very important.
Speaking of which, Pilder of Pete in the chat says, Punk says he's the best in the world. He holds the top title. Hard to disagree. My issue with that, and I want to table this for later in the show because it's a whole other topic, but Punk acknowledged he did not beat Cody and really settle the score clean. But I also don't think you can do that and then concurrently say you're the best in the world when you won because of interference. It's sort of like Kathy Kelly going, you've upset Trick twice, Baron Corbin. Talk about it. How about the interviewer goes up to Baron Corbin and says, you know, you got a 2-0 record against Trick, but you know what? Nobody thinks you're better than him because both times were tainted. That's what the interviewer should say. That they're a reporter. They shouldn't be sitting here treating everything neutral. And that's what the announcers are doing too. Everything is like this neutral headline. Like there's no right or wrong. That would be biased. And we can't be biased. It's like, no, we didn't learn who the better wrestler was between Punk and Cody. And I want that to be an outstanding issue. And frankly, I want it to be something that seems like it's eating up Punk. That Punk's like, all I want to do is beat Cody without Randy Orton's interference. And now Kevin Owens, your number one contender, and I got to focus on you while everybody's thinking, do I even deserve this title? Because Randy Orton took that from me. And I know WWE's like, oh, we don't want the focus to be on things that aren't right in front of us. But I want to buy into these real human beings having complex thoughts that they express, and they don't just turn the page because it's the next time it's time to promote the next match. I think viewers can handle it. It doesn't have to be talked about constantly, but at the 5 days, 6 days after this tainted victory where nothing was proven, I want Punk to be kind of hung up on that.
Yeah, and this doesn't 100% mitigate what you're talking about, but I did appreciate the line he said where he said, I'm mad about it, but I'm not as mad as you are about it.
Yep.
Because that to me is like a champion who takes pride in proving without a shadow of a doubt that he's the best.
Totally.
You know? And I'm glad he brought that up. At least.
And by the way, I mentioned that I think earlier in the show, or unless I thought it, and I like that. My issue is take it the next step further. And when you're saying I am the best in the world, and this is triggered because Father Pete says he holds the top title. It's hard to disagree. It's best in the world right now in the realm of WWE, the world that we get a window into every week.
We don't.
Punk's not the best in the world.
Yeah,
he's not the best in the world. It's just that's I said I was going to get into it, but the whole point of that WWE sells us on this match. Find out who's better between Cody and Punk, and then Joe Tessitore can't express an opinion that we got cheated out of that, and they're scared that it's going to bounce back. It's kind of like when. In WWE Unreal, where Paul Levesque goes, well, John Cena wanted to have intentionally bad matches, and we told him that's not going to get heat on you. That's going to get heat on us in 2026, 2025. They're going to know we're booking it, and we're boring them. We can't do that, John. John's wrestling IQ, not the highest. I will stand by that for a top guy. Very, very much well below average, and that's, I think, an example of how there's a lot of things John presents that get, like, he gets talked out of it, but people make him think it was his idea. And so you ought to have a willingness to tell the right story. If telling the right story is going to make people think your booking sucks, then don't make your booking suck so that you can tell a good faith story after what you do. My point is, own what you do, have characters react naturally to what happens, and if that reflects poorly on you as a booker because you're scared fans are going to go, well, yeah, we didn't really solve anything, and I paid $1,000 for my SummerSlam ticket and flew to Minneapolis, and you're right, it was cool to see Randy, but I didn't. The whole point of the match was to see who was better between Cody and Punk, and I'm mad at Paul Levesque for booking that finish. I think they're genuinely worried about drawing attention to that and having the lead announcer go, we didn't really solve anything on Saturday, but it's still there. Yeah. And so now not only did you have a booking decision that took away the whole selling point of the match, but now you're conning the fans, gaslighting the fans. You're chipping away at goodwill by not owning what happened and framing it the way that it should be framed if this were a real sport, which is, I want Joe Tessitore to say, the fans are chanting Randy, but there were a lot of fans in Minneapolis who they were excited to see Randy, but when all the dust settled, Randy cost them a chance to find out who was better between Punk and Cody. I don't think that's her. I think there's more good than bad that comes from that, introducing that officially into the narrative, and then I want Punk to lean a little more into it and go, I wear this title. I believe I'm the best in the world, but my first title defense is tainted, and beating UKO is step one in getting in improving it. But I got to beat Cody again. But now you're standing in front of me. Like, there's a way to frame it, Derrick, where you're getting people excited about two matches, and you're also letting them know we're owning what we did.
And I think in that last line that you just gave is what I prefer. If you're going to do it, own it.
Yep.
Don't hide from it. Don't run from it. And that finish was made to at least get some heat on Randy Orton, to set him up as the heel going into a feud with Cody Rhodes.
Yep.
The announcers could underline the fact that this makes Randy Orton a heel, not only because he's a jerk,
Yep.
But because he ruined the title match.
Yep. Exactly. And if you acknowledge it, it feels like you're aware enough to try to protect it in the future instead of it feeling like a con where we're going to tell you the reason to be into this match is this, but we're in total control of whether we give you the answer to the question that we say is we are selling you that is vitally important. And we're telling you, go to the building, buy ESPN Unlimited, watch this match so you can find out who's better. But we're also in control of taking that away from you. And now next time you sell us on the importance of a match, you lose goodwill. It's just whether people are overtly thinking about it or not, that sense of I'm tuning in and I'm going to see the outcome that they're selling me on is there or not there, depending on how they follow up on it. All right.
And also, if you don't do it too often, I think maybe one of the problems is they've done these cop-out finishes so often that they don't want to highlight them and draw attention to them, because then it's obvious that you do them too often. So that's an indicator that you're doing them too much. So pull back.
Absolutely. JC Scooby says, by the way, CM Punk's nothing like Aaron Rodgers. You can elaborate on that. I don't think, like, politically, their views on all kinds of things, Punk's right, Aaron's wrong.
Personality traits. Their personality traits have similarities.
Yeah. And they're not mirror. I mean, there are things about Aaron Rodgers that are different than Punk beyond just there's an arrogance to how right they are, and it just so happens Punk is right about the vast majority of things that he has a strong opinion on. And he makes you resent him for it by the time he's done, convincing people who don't see what's apparent to him. Aaron Rodgers is wrong about almost everything, but you also resent him because he's so arrogant and he thinks he knows everything. He doesn't. All right.
And both guys will never admit they were wrong, even when they find out they are, which is like one of my biggest complaints about the society in which we live in.
Yeah.
Just if something comes out and you were wrong about it, just say that you made a mistake. For goodness sake, we can be adults.
When your whole identity is wrapped up in how smart you are and how ahead of the curve you are, that, like, I know people who their pride is being ahead of the curve. And so they'll jump on anything that Joe Rogan has a guest who doesn't have any foundational science to back up anything they're saying, but it was a compelling conversation and it made me think. So now I want to be ahead of the curve on snake oil, the modern snake oil theory of the day. And it's like when Aaron Rodgers and CM Punk, I think, now we're very psychoanalyzing Punk again. I didn't want to do this. But I think Punk does want to be right, wants to be a little ahead on this stuff. And Aaron Rodgers certainly puts himself out there as, let me pontificate about something that I'm not an expert on, but I read a couple articles and talked to somebody, and now I have this thing that everyone should follow me on. And it's just like, he couldn't be like more proven wrong, like you say, Derrick, over and over, but he's just
never
then you got to be clever enough to ignore, distract, or deflect from it. Adam Kidd says, yes, there's just an arrogance about everything they both say. I think he's talking about KO and Punk in storyline more so. But JC Scooby underlines, KO got the last word, but the champ gets the music at the end and the segment walkout. Yeah. So in that sense, he's saying, maybe it evened out a bit. All right. All right. Let's go to good fella. I'll put this up. I love when Wade said he doesn't want to talk about it again, but always does. LOL. I enjoy it every time you do, though. Thank you. I thank you.
It's very similar to my mother in politics. Every time she says she doesn't want to talk about it anymore, I know a 15-minute dissertation.
Yes. And I mean, in my defense, in this context, not all context, but in this context, I am just putting chat comments up, and I want to give everybody a voice. And so when I say I don't want to talk about it, and then there's a chat comment, and then I want to comment on the chat comment, that's when I sort of apologize for it. I hope I'm not repeating myself, but adding new dimensions to it, hopefully. All right. Derrick says, Punk and Sissy is the best in the world. It rings hollow considering Roman is still the top guy in the company. They weren't the main event of SummerSlam Night 1, as that honor went to Oba versus Brock at Hell in a Cell. That's an ongoing issue. It's a problem with having 2 world title belts. Try explaining that to a non-fan. Standard Deviation says, by framing Punk's current title as the top prize in the world, they're no selling the meaning of his loss to Roman in the biggest match of the year at WrestleMania. Yep.
That's fair.
Yep. Again, that should be brought up. Crofton says, I thought it was interesting that Wade Barrett mentioned that KO and Punk had a lot of history, but they were asked not to go into it.
I kind of like that too. Leave it a mystery. You don't have to tell us everything when it happened outside of the company, right?
Yeah, and then but he goes, it was a bit odd, but it might have been a strategy to get us to Google it. Interesting. Maybe, yeah. I mean, it works either way. It works either way. Good fella adds, by the way, thank you for the community, Wade. I love being able to come on here and talk Raps. Of course, it's so fun. All right, let's go to Sean Plichta and get his thoughts. He loves that I trip over his name now as I try to actually get it right. He's laughing. It's hard to break a habit. I'm just gonna go Sean from Tennessee again and just not even deal with it.
But see, if you do, Wade, then you gotta at some point in time play my song. It's my song. Mike gave me my song. I gotta get my song every once in a blue moon. Come on,
yeah,
come on.
I got it. I get you. We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, it surprised me. It'll be great. And whenever it happens, it'll be great. I'll be thankful. I'll just be very thankful, very humble. No, a lot of good points tonight. The chat has been on fire. It's been fun to be in the chat for a little bit. And I just want to bring up with Punk and KO, like we've all been talking about. I still, even though they had good things, like KO, of course, talking about being on for 17 months, like you said, Derrick, it makes me want to get behind him. But then he's still saying, Punk's a piece of crap and all this stuff. It's like my goal, again, and Wade, you've talked about it, and I want you to be consistent. And I'm more than you on this. I want somebody to cheer and somebody to boo. And Punk is still making me want to get behind him. He's still saying I think I'm the best in the world. I'm still like the Cody stuff before showed that. He's like, hey, I'm mad that this happened. I wish I won it the right way. I still like both guys generally, and I want to root against somebody and root for somebody, and they always do that right now, and it's driving me crazy. And it's good promo. The promo was good. I enjoyed it, but I want it to lean more in the next coming weeks of who am I supposed to truly get behind, the one person I want to root for. And I want it to be KO in a lot of ways because KO just got back and I love him, but Punk I like too. So just make it clear.
Go ahead, Derrick.
So Sean, I think the one thing that I can kind of set my head on that might make it all right, which they did actually do with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, is at the end of the day, as long as they show respect for each other, I don't need everybody to love each other and hug it out. But at the end of the day, after they have their match, if they show respect to each other, I actually like them both more. And if you can have that babyface match, I mean, that's what Chad Gable and Penta did. They have a competitive match. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns have a competitive match, but at the end of the day, one guy wins, the other guy loses, and then they show respect for each other. And then I'm like, even if the guy I like lost, I have respect for him more because he put up a good fight and then he was honorable in defeat, which is one of the best qualities you can have as a human.
Well, and I want true heels too. Like, I mean, obviously Orton did, and I'll talk about that in a minute too. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just want there to be, other than, I mean, Gunther's done a great job and Sammy's, turning into that, which has been great. But, just give me some good guys to get to root against. And I think one of these guys can do that. And I just want them, I'd rather them, because again, Cody Punk kind of did that. I mean, they kind of did, even though they were having issues, but they still had respect for each other. It was still overall, like, I have respect for you. And tonight they did that. I mean, they had respect for each other, but like every big match can't be that way. Every once in a while do it. So I want to go to Randy and Cody, because I loved everything about that tonight. I love that. I love, again, Cody. Adam's going to hate me, but Cody's genuine. I love everything about Cody tonight. He said, asked him, or did you know it was going to happen? Did you know? He's like, no. Okay. I respect that. CM Punk, your champion, even though he doesn't feel probably in his heart that he is, because he knows he got screwed, but he's not going to complain like a whiner and be a baby about it. He wasn't. He was very genuine about it. And then when Cody and Randy started having their stuff, and Randy just is leaning into the heel, which I love. He can do it. The fans will go against him. They will. It'll take, a couple weeks, but they will. And he'll have some vicious attacks on him. It's going to be great. But with Cody just seeming so genuine, but then having that mean side, that mean streak, and he did. And when he said, "I'm not a good guy anymore," it's not that I'm a heel. It wasn't I'm a heel. No. It's I'm going to go to this dark side. I'm going to get revenge on you, and I'm going to beat you, and I'm going to do all. And it was just great. I just loved everything about that segment. What did you guys think?
So I'm still angry at Randy for his go home promo leading into WrestleMania.
No,
he ran in it, and tonight was a continuation of it. So there's some baggage there. But in context, Randy's promos are built around Randy's story and a fascination that he or the writer of his promos has with Randy's story. And it's disconnected, I would argue, more than it should be too often and almost entirely sometimes from the greater good, which is what's the crowd reaction goal? Not selling a new t-shirt with a slogan on it, not making the best case you can that sounds entirely reasonable. So Sean from Tennessee calls up and goes, I liked it. You want Randy to, if he should be a heel here. And because Cody could use a heel opponent. And I know they're like, oh, but Randy's bigger than the heel face construct. There's too many people, Roman bigger than the heel face construct, whatever. No, Randy should not make a good case for, you gave me permission, Cody, so I did it. It's your fault. You told me to do it. And that version didn't work, so in this version will. And I'm being selfish. And, of course, WWE just in their narrative. And people go, well, the fans don't care about right and wrong. Or they don't care about integrity to finishes. So therefore, that proves that that you shouldn't try. And it's a failed philosophy that isn't current with the times. I'm like, no. It's a product of the narrative that fans don't care because they'd feel foolish to care. And the people who did care stopped watching. And the people who are still watching watch for a different reason than being invested in a certain outcome because somebody does it the right way. If WWE invests in that narrative structure again, the fans will buy into that, and you might end up with more fans too. So Randy is making a case for what goes on in his head to do it, but it's to what ends is he doing it? It's not to get booed. It's not to get Cody cheered. It's to it's like he's on the stand as a defense. He's defending himself on the stand at trial. Here's why I did it. And the fans like, Cody should have known better. Randy should know. Randy's just being Randy. And we love Randy because he's a star and the RKO and the music. And so I want Randy's goal, and I wanted it to be going into WrestleMania, get Cody cheered. And it's not. It's just Randy making the best case he can for himself. So that's the downside of what he did tonight. And it was a continuation of something that was more egregious going into WrestleMania. But because this is the next time we've heard from him, I'm saying it's a continuation of that. And I don't want him to make the best case for Randy. I want him to make a case where we go, screw that. He's telling himself a story. And that story he's telling himself is just excuse making for his own shortcomings. Or he's trying to rationalize being insane and unreliable and a bad friend and taking advantage of Cody, who's a good person. But I thought Cody was strong. And Adam in the chat, says, Sadler Vision 3 first says, Cody was good. His promo's good tonight. He's great out of making the best out of bad situations. He has a lot of practice, by the way, on that. Crofton says, Cody had a good night overall. Powder of Pete said, face Cody and RKO heel is good as long as the fans play along. And here's a comment I was looking for. Adam Kidd, Sean, says, Cody is faker than some of Tiffany's anatomy.
That's just, I'm sorry. I mean, you can be fun with it, but I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, you can have fun with it and say that. That's Adam's opinion. That's fine. You're allowed to have your opinion. that's a little ridiculous. I mean, Cody does not seem fake to me. I mean, again, you could say he's not whatever, but to say he's fake I think is a little too far. But that's just my view on it.
And I agree. Let me sneak this in. JC Scooby says probably the best promo Cody had in a long, long, long while. Chris Rucker says Cody is fake. JC Scooby says I think Cody's character needs to evolve. I get that this is an issue.
Tonight. Yeah.
What's that?
It might be tonight because tonight there was more fire, and he even gave the line that I'm sick of being the white knight. I'm gonna, if you want to go dirty, I'm gonna take it there too. My favorite part of tonight's angle, which I think they might have found the special sauce that will keep Randy a heel, is I think it's really hard in 2026 for a lot of the things that historically made someone a heel, attacking someone from behind, hitting them when they're not looking, an over-aggressive beatdown, and excessive violence, sarcasm, cutting comments, all of these things that used to make someone a heel. Now, if you're good enough at them, they get you cheered. But one thing that I think is timeless in pro wrestling is no one wants to cheer a coward. And so I think the special sauce to ensure that Cody remains a babyface and Randy remains a heel is what they did tonight. Cody is trying to fight him. Randy is the coward who is running away.
Absolutely.
And I love that part of it is Randy's not standing up to him. Randy bells out of the ring. So he's this guy who talks up this huge fight, and then he bells and then gets all aggressive on the mic. And then the other magic point is Randy was cutting a great promo that, like Wade says, was so good it was kind of a babyface promo because it got the crowd fired up.
Mm-hmm.
It creates this atmosphere of intensity, and then Cody matched and exceeded that atmosphere of intensity, which made him win the segment. So this segment, for a babyface heel segment, the babyface should be designed to get the best of the heel in most of the segments, unless the heel undercuts or cheats to get the best of the babyface. Randy Bell's like a coward. I think what they should do for the next 3 weeks, Cody's trying to fight Randy, and Randy avoids it at all costs. Because not only does it make it a coward, but fans want to see them fight. So if it's Randy who's avoiding the fight, he's taking away what the fans want to see. That is a heel characteristic that's going to get you booed in the arena.
And I absolutely love that too. I mean, Randy teasing coming in the ring and backing away, teasing coming in, backing away, did make him the heel. And I want his, and let's give him credit for that. And that is something that, in the end, all's well that ends well in a way. But and I know it seems sort of hack or whatever, but it's not like they don't do it enough with playing to the crowd by name in the city. I want Randy to say, part of me not being, part of being the worst version of myself is looking at you fans who are chanting RKO and telling you some version of screw off. Like, I don't need you. When you guys are chanting for me and I start eating it up, it gets me off my game. And my game is, through any means necessary, take out somebody like Cody and then say something about Cody that people like that Randy doesn't. And now psychologically fans are going, well, God, I thought I liked Randy, but now he's saying he doesn't want our cheers. And he's saying something about Cody that I like, or that is a good trait in people, that he's now demeaning. Whatever. There's a way to add a little bit more to the context, to the content of his promo, so he's not cool Randy. And one of the problems WWE has right now is the communal crowd response, which is, we love to chant and cheer and sing and pop for entrances and songs and catchphrases and all that. But then they'll turn and they'll then do the boo you or whatever. And I just let's try to create a consistent emotion with your audience so that I want fans to take their own feelings seriously and not be jerked around, having to kind of check themselves and change back and forth. One other thing about this, people are saying, oh, Cody said he doesn't have to be a good guy anymore. What Cody said is, I don't have to. Derek Mitchell said, biggest thing Cody said tonight was, I don't need to be a good guy. You mentioned that earlier. What Cody really said is, I don't have to abide by the standards of being champion. And when people say Cody's phone, when people say Cody's phony, I don't know what they're referring to. I think what you're saying is, I don't like authentic Cody. That doesn't mean he's phony. You cannot like him. Chris Rucker in the chat goes, he tries too hard with the suits, and he tries to fit big words in every promo. He's such a tryhard. Yes, the suits are kind of weird. And and then he would look up words, words that didn't flow naturally, and he'd misuse them, and it came across as an insecurity. Like, oh, I need to sound smarter than I am, so I'm going to use words that I don't naturally flow, but I'm going to look it up to sound smarter. He hasn't done that in like a year and a half. So that's not a thing he does anymore. The thing is what you see in Cody's promo tonight is Cody, who believes in himself and knows what his character is, and is admitting in this promo, yes, when I'm champion, I feel a pressure to represent the company. It is when I asked Hangman Page when he first won the AW World title, right afterwards at the media Q&A, are you going to show up Wednesday at Dynamite feeling different? He's like, I hadn't really thought of that. You ever believe Cody's thought about that every night of his freaking life? He's woken up going, man, if I'm champion someday, how am I going to enter the locker room and lead and be QB1 and try to represent the sport that my dad raised me in? How am I going to represent myself as champion? Because when I walk in public, I'm going to represent this brand and this business. That's all Cody thought about. When I asked Hangman, it's like the thought had never crossed his mind that that's even a thing. He didn't know wrestling history enough to know that's a thing in WWE, and AEW was new then. Hangman's a great guy, but I'm just saying, in that case, it was like, so when you say Cody is a tryhard, that is authentic.
Yeah.
Like, he buys it, and he does so in a way that it's a lot, but it's kind of admirable. If you love pro wrestling, guess what? Cody loves it more than anybody.
He wants to be the best version he can be.
And he wants to represent it in what he believes is the best way to represent it, which is a decades-long representation of what the leader, the QB1, the world champion babyface should be. And it revealed itself tonight when he says, I don't feel that burden anymore. And it worked perfectly for the story with Randy, but it's also saying, if you didn't like me when I'm champion, or there's certain things about it, I had to kind of hold back. It's like a teacher who loses their job and they can say what they want to say to the parent of the kid who annoyed the hell out of them for 3 years. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a teacher. I'm not on the school. I'm not on payroll anymore. I'm not employed by the school district. So guess what, dad of Johnny? You suck as a dad and you don't appreciate the work that teachers go through. Like, that's kind of what Cody went through tonight. That's genuine. I do think he thinks I now can act differently to Randy in character on TV because I don't have to represent myself in a way that I had to whenever I'm champion. So,
and I think some people might misinterpret fakeness for being kind of a goody two shoes. And maybe, I mean, that's Cody Rhodes' character. I mean, he is a goody two shoes. Yeah. But to me, does that fake? Yep. It's no more fake than what Trick Williams does. He's not wearing like a white feathered, massive coats with a tail that was 50 feet long at WrestleMania. That's trying hard.
Yes. Yep. Saturday Nation says Cody is the epitome of fake it until you make it.
Yes.
Now, Chris Rucker says if Cody is anybody else, would be calling him a mark for himself. I mean, I think that's worth pondering and commenting on. I think there's something different with Cody because this is what I'd say to Chris, and then Sean, I promise to you. I think what Cody is doing is he's not a mark for himself. He feels I don't want to label it as antiquated because I don't think it is, but it sort of has become, unfortunately, this antiquated notion that even though the Booker decides you're world champion, you are given that honor of holding that title and being the top guy because you've earned it. There's merit, and with it comes responsibility. And also being a lead babyface who kids look up to. I mean, he didn't want to turn heel in AEW but the kids and the charity and all that. I believe that's way more sincere in this than a lot. I'll just won't name names, but a lot of babyfaces. So I think did a lot of stuff for, they chose the quickest, easiest way to get the good PR, to build their brand, to sell merchandise. And I think Cody is off camera is the real deal a lot more than most people are.
And I think he inherited a traditional mindset of what it means to be a wrestling champion that he's internalized to be incredibly important to him and the company he represents. And that is what his character is.
Yeah. Adam Kidd says, and he was actually good tonight.
Yes.
I don't know who he's talking about, but
Cody.
Sean, will you take that? Well, I'm hoping, but I'm just throwing back to Sean.
No, I mean, Adam and I are friends. I have no issue.
I know,
I disagree with him on that topic, but I mean, it's fine. I think Cody always has feel. I mean, I see the reasons why some people would say that, but I just feel when I watch him, he does not come off like that to me. He comes off as like a baby face that I want to get behind. And with tonight, the other thing
he says he was talking about Cody, by the way. Adam Kidd says.
Well, somebody brought up too, and it was and it was so true. When KO came out, when he was in the aisle, and Cody, they looked at each other because they'd had the feud before he left, and he just handed him the mic, moved on. I mean, that's a genuine thing to do, man. I mean, he didn't have to do that, but he was like, in canon, like, no, here you go. You're the number one contender, man. Go do your thing. I hate it, but it kind of is what it is. But so I like that segment a lot. And then I wanted to bring up, we were talking to you brought up Derrick when Wade was having the issues about Charlotte and Jade. I mean, I've said this many times. I don't want to harp on it. I just, everybody's going to give Jade crap, and it pisses me off. Charlotte is not good in the ring right now. I'm sorry. Like, you cannot sit there and say Jade is bad. This match was bad because my friend, who's been in the chat before said, oh, Jade sucked tonight. I'm like, no, Charlotte sucked too tonight. She did stupid moves that she doesn't need to be doing. The natural selection sucks. And she did it from the top rope. It looks terrible. It's going to look terrible. Why are we doing that move? Like, do moves that make sense in the midst of a match that I want to actually get behind. I want to get into it. I told you, Wade, I like Jade. She's improved to me. I think she's gotten better. Is she slow? Yes, she's very slow. But she's improved. She's gotten better. Charlotte, if it's not a main event match on WrestleMania, she stinks in the ring. I don't like any of her matches when I'm just watching her in the ring. The kicks look bad. They show so much light. Could be both people, but I feel like Charlotte is a lot to blame for it. And, again, here's my other thing too. So the finish happened, which again, it still pisses me off because I just don't think they need all the interference when Jade doesn't need them to fight for her in any way, but they're going to. They're her baddies. They got to fight for her. they obviously did it because they wanted to get Tatum Paxley and Alexa Bliss back. Okay, yes, it had a reason, but I still don't like it. Don't do these kind of finishes. It takes you out of these matches, and it's annoying. So that's a lot to harp on, but that was at bad end to the show for me. But it's not just Jade, people. It's Charlotte. She has a lot to do with it. I want to get on her for it.
Couple chat comments I'll throw to Derrick for his assessment of this. Mark Biscotti says, Charlotte wrestles like she's afraid of getting injured. Maybe for good reason, especially against Jade, but really against other people who are different than Jade, where that's a risk too. Adam Kidd goes, I think Charlotte has lost her fastball. Derrick, what are you seeing in Charlotte's in-ring work? What jumps out to you?
She's not sure-footed. That would be the first thing I said. What the first thing that comes to mind, and it seems to be a confidence issue too, with depending on who she's in there with. But there was stutter steps on all the spots that didn't look right. There was the one in that walkover, that handstand walkover clothesline thing she does. Someone needs to tell her that that's just not a move that works in the way that you're doing it. You don't have to strip it from your arsenal. If you did it from the corner and gave somebody more space, you could probably hit it. But the way it is now, it's a bad timing move that forces you to stutter step and forces the other person to stutter step, which loses the aura of athleticism that you used to present that you're no longer presenting. But even when she climbs up to the top rope, she just doesn't feel confident with her feet under her. And about being afraid to be hurt, I see that too, where when she's doing the strike offs, she's asking the person to bring it, but then she's dipping her shoulder in front of her face so they can't make contact with her because she doesn't trust them. And that all makes the cadence of your strike offs look bad, as you're not opening yourself up to give somebody to hit. It's like, Sean, if you were going to forearm me through the screen right now, if I do this, you can't hit me. I need to give you this so you have something to hit. Otherwise, you have a choice. You can either hit my shoulder that looks like crap, or you can hit me in the head and then it's going to hurt me.
Or as a former karate guy who sparred a lot, I'd score a point by using my left leg to round kick you in the chin because you'd bending over and making yourself vulnerable for that.
But it's that kind of stuff where a lot of, and I'm not just going to say it's Charlotte or Jade, I'm going to make a general statement. A lot of the female wrestling has been really bad for the last 2 months, where there is definitely a major disconnect between what's going on in NXT, where they're performing rehearsed matches and then they transfer over to the main roster. And I really think they need to sit down with their agents and they need to stop making things so damn complicated. Yeah. Because that match with Roxanne Perez and Sol Ruca, which wasn't terrible, but I was watching spots and they were having like between 2 and 3 counters and reversals before anybody takes a bump. And if you screw up any of those counters and reversals before somebody takes the move loses all of its effect.
That's a good point.
Why are you doing things so complicated? Yep. Jade's best matches were against Rhea Ripley, where there was 2 or 3 complicated spots, and a lot of it was just impact. They almost won the crowd with the one move that had impact tonight, which was the power bomb off the top rope.
Yeah,
they hit the big power bomb off the top rope, and fans were like, "We are going to give you another chance to win us over." And then they did 2 or 3 other complicated things that didn't go well.
Derrick, did you like the setup for that, or did it? Because it looked like a struggle that was a real struggle, but sometimes a real struggle can make it. The key is not everything should go so smooth that it looks like a well-rehearsed acrobatics exchange, but if it looks like you're struggling to set something up unnaturally in order to achieve something that looks choreographed, then that's a bad thing. And that's the category I thought this was in.
Yeah. And so the way it was taught to me that I think is important is everything you do in a transition should look like a move that you're going for that gets countered, and you have to frame all of it. Yep. So she's going for her Trish Stratus Hurricane Run, or the Stratus, whatever it was called, the leg scissors thing.
Yep.
She goes for that move. You should see that she's trying to go for that move. You can see that Jade blocks it, and Jade gives the look that I just blocked it. And then Jade needs to hoist her up, not Charlotte do a sit-up, because Jade hooks her up like she's going to power bomb her. Charlotte acts like she's going to do a Hurricane Rana, and then she power bombs her. That's what we should have seen, instead of this thing where it was, I'm going to throw you my legs. I'm going to grab them. You're slowly going to do a sit-up onto me. Yep. I'm going to make sure that I got you, stand up slowly, and power bomb you. So you need to frame all of those counters for them to actually come across to the audience as counters.
What stood out to me is Charlotte went for the leg scissors, And the look on Jade's face is like, oh my God, her legs might not grip my head properly. Let me pull her leg up so that it can get in proper position, so that it can look like she's doing the move, so that when I counter it, it'll have a flow to it. And all of that, like, to me, conveyed in her face like a panic that her leg's not where it needs to be. So let me lift her leg up and put it in position to set up a move that now I'm going to counter. And I don't know where it went
Ugly,
wrong, but
messy. And
exactly.
And there's if that was your move, there's such an easier way to get up for it. Have Charlotte go up for a top rope hurricane rod, jump on her shoulders, catch her, and power bomb her.
Yep.
You don't need all those other things.
Yep. Simplify is a really good. Yeah. A lot of wrestlers would just be simplify. Some chat comments here on this, Sean, then we'll throw to you. Oh my God, I finally agree with Sean. Charlotte is really not good in the ring, says Chris Rucker. Goodfella says, I really like this Jade Flair match. Damn, I didn't know I was in the minority. Boy, do you feel like a full Goodfella now after all that?
Wow, yeah.
For Goodfella, in Goodfella's defense, there was parts. There was probably 2 or 3 parts in the match where I started feeling like, okay, they found their stride.
Yeah,
they found their stride, and I feel that a lot with matches where it might be shaky in different places, but as long as they find their stride, especially after the commercial break. If you hit the landing, I'll call it a good match, especially if it told the right story and it accomplished its goal. They didn't stick the landing, which made the story fall flat.
Yep. JC Scooby says Charlotte wrestles like she lost her confidence. Another variation on what we've been saying. Mr. Rock City 86 says everything Charlotte does from the top rope looks terrible. Prove me wrong, LOL. Adam Kidd says Charlotte has to carry her in that match as a veteran, and she failed. Pile River Pete says Jade is improving, but at what rate? That's fair. Rude Dog says I feel like Charlotte's body type isn't doing her any favors. She just seems kind of skinny and fragile.
She does look skinnier. I mean, just not in a good way in normal life, but in wrestling, I don't know if that's good for her body type. Yeah, that's fair.
And it sounds mean, but I'll even say this. When I wrestled. When I would drop below 10% body fat, that is always when I tore my bicep muscle wrestling. It's your body needs fat on it to be more hardy. And I do think some of these females, like it might even be Rhea Ripley's, why she got a recent injury. You don't have as much padding. If you don't have as much padding on you, you're more susceptible to injury.
That's a good point.
Yeah. That's why we're like people are complimenting Finn Balor being in the best shape of his life right now. Derrick, I think he looks like he needs some body fat. That looks like an unhealthy cut.
Yeah, in his defense, though, because he's got smaller muscle bodies, I'm not afraid of him ripping them off. Like as soon as like Triple H got really jacked, it's just a matter of time, and it's natural.
Wardlow, Batista, all these injuries,
exactly. Like nobody ever should tear their lat off their body. Batista tore both of his lats. Because he had huge lats and no body fat to keep him in place. So I think Balor's actually in a better place because he doesn't have massive muscle bodies, which puts a massive strain on your tendons.
Yeah. I even saying it's a higher risk aside, I think Finn Balor looks dehydrated, emaciated, but muscular underneath. But like, I kind of want like some body fat. Like it feels like it's unnaturally transparent just to the muscles. Like I don't know, I don't think this is the best look for him but I mean it's subjective, but it's like a little body fat on Finn Balor is I think looks more athletic unless I cut for a bodybuilding competition.
To each their own, but I know I don't even diet down that severe anymore ever because I don't feel like my mental acuity, my durability I know is compromised when I get too lean.
Sadler Vision 3 says Charlotte's like the Eli Manning of wrestling, great in big matches and has a huge name recognition, but week to week normal matches are mediocre to bad. Goodfella says suplexes, hard punches, high impact spot from Jade. I liked it tonight. So that's what Goodfella liked about it. Mr. Rock City says Charlotte can't bring a below average wrestler up to a good match. She's not a good leader in that sense. She needs someone on her level or better to have a standout match. I think that's true.
Yes, I think that's fair too. Yep.
JC Scooby says Charlotte didn't even lock her figure 4 leg lock on. Yeah, it's like Miz not knowing that. He'd never forgive him for that. But like, I could do a figure 4 leg lock on my friends when I was 13. It's not hard. Like, I mean, it just.
Wade, we practice. You got to say though, we were practicing a lot at a very young age on how to apply those holds.
but if it's my finisher, I would practice. I would find people to practice that. Chris Ruckers 2342 says that figure 4 is awful. How do you not know how to do your own finisher? LOL. Yes, true. I know. Padre Picos, I've been tired of Charlotte for a while now. Then Derrick Mitchell with a super chat. Thank you, Derrick. Thank you, Sean, as I feel there is a segment of people, no matter what Jade does, think she can't do anything right. And I think Jade has gotten better. I don't think
the agents do her any favors, to be honest. Like they make her matches more complicated. And it doesn't have to be. Like Brock Lesnar is a great example. And because I'm writing an article for my next column, Wade, will be on Brock Lesnar. And the thing I admire about Brock Lesnar is the simplicity of his matches. He never messes up a spot because he doesn't do spots. Why does Jade need to do complicated spots? She looks like she carries a punch and packs impact. Let her carry a punch and pack impact. That's when she's effective.
Yeah.
I mean, Jade's best match, which is weird to say, it hurts me to say in a weird way, was against Naomi. Her best matches were against Naomi, in my opinion.
I liked her matches against Rhea.
Yeah, and Rhea too. You said Rhea. That's why I just brought Naomi because it's a different one. But and Rhea has lost a lot of weight. You're right. I mean, that's a good point. She looked. I was looking. Her and Io were together. I was like, oh my gosh, she really does look like she's. And it's it's okay. And like to want to lose weight, but in wrestling, it does hurt a little bit in the way you're trying to come across as a badass. Like it does hurt a little bit, but. Sorry.
I think it makes you more, like they said, I think it makes you more fragile.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't find out. It's like being injury prone. Nobody knows they're injury prone until they start getting injured.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a great way to put it. It is a lesson learned the hard way.
Yeah.
I did some 7 straight days of trail running earlier this summer, and I hadn't jogged for ever, a long time. Yeah. I've been biking and in pickleball. It was when I first started playing pickleball a few years ago, I couldn't get out of the car after I drove home. I people, if neighbors saw me getting out of the car after playing pickleball for 2 hours, they'd think, was he in a car wreck? Or it was not pretty. And I'd go ice my feet and my knee, especially my feet. So I trail ran 7 straight days with my dog, did 2-mile trail runs. I paused, I was watching my heart rate. I didn't overdo it, so I was going to collapse in the heat, but I could not walk upstairs for 3 weeks. I should have taken 2 days off in between because I got into it too quickly. But I probably could have gotten away with it in my 20s. But when I was in karate in my 20s, I always had ailments then too. It's just natural if you overextend yourself. But I was like, okay, testament to this. You don't know how injury prone you are until you do something that feels good doing it, and then a week, it was about 4-day delay, and suddenly. My knees have never hurt like that, and I was like, okay, I gotta be smarter about this.
In a show of wrestling perspective, when I was indie wrestling, there was 3 different occasions where I took a few months off. Once to finish up my degree, I didn't wrestle for about 18 months, and the thing that surprised me when I got back in there and started training is over time I had hit the rope so many times where I had this callus on my lat.
Yep.
And to the point where running the ropes didn't feel like anything. My first day back running the ropes, doing just basic running the ropes drills, I had these terrible bruises right above my armpit.
Yep.
And I peed blood for 2 days. And that was because that callus was gone. And running the ropes, which doesn't hurt when you're doing it all the time, but boy, do you find out what that does to you when you don't do it.
Yeah. A couple other comments on this, Sean, and I'll throw to you for anything you want to say in response to our convo here. JC Scooby says, Charlotte Jade feud needs to end yesterday. Mr. Rock City says, the walkover handstand clothesline, the moonsault from the top to the outside, natural selection, they're all moves Charlotte needs to drop. Do they not watch their matches back, or do they just think, look at the acrobaticness of it as opposed to the believability of it?
So I mentioned this, Wade, when I was talking to Greg Parks on Saturday for SummerSlam, but I finally watched WWE Unreal. I hadn't watched any of the seasons, but I finally watched it.
Yeah.
And because I'm at my parents' house with nothing to do while they're in Scotland. And so I really enjoyed the show, but the one thing that if there was anything that bugged me, it's not the comments that get taken out of context and put online to piss people off. That stuff is silly to me. But it was how congratulatory they are to each other every time they come back from the back. And I know it's a show, so they might not be showing those hard conversations, but a lot of the matches that to me didn't go well, where if I was a competitor in that match and I came back, I would be pissed off. And I would not want my boss to tell me that was great, because I know it wasn't. Like a good example was like Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. They're like, yeah, it was great. It was this and that. I'm like, no, your WrestleMania match was bad. And someone needs to tell you that it was bad. Like the fans didn't resonate with your story. It was slow. It was plotting. It didn't resonate with people, and you got a bad crowd response. But the fact of how congratulatory they are to everybody, and especially with younger competitors, I mean, you don't have to tell someone they suck and everything they did suck and tear them down and they should never wrestle again for their life. But constructive criticism from the right voice needs to be happening all the time if you expect people to improve. And I hope we are only seeing a glimpse in Unreal that's not showing those conversations. Yeah. But I worry those hard conversations with people like Charlotte, who to them is a veteran, are not happening because they know that she's emotionally fragile. No, if you're going to put it on TV and it looks bad, someone needs to tell you it looks bad. And a lot of her offense, it looks bad.
Yeah. I was thinking when they did her arrival shot and there 2-3 guys in the back just started bowing to her. Yeah. And I was like, you're around long enough. Yeah, around long enough. You have like these big matches, and then people just start like sort of worshiping like what your character is supposed to be, and you can kind of lose sight of there's things you still need to improve upon, or there are things that you were barely passable before and now they're not, and no one's telling you the truth anymore. And plus, once you put a camera on something like this back after the match, backstage congratulations, it's not real anymore. Like that's what people said about MTV, the first like live in camera of 24-hour will edit into a reality show type thing is, yes, what was their catchphrase? Things start to get real after a while, whatever. I can't remember the catchphrase, but when a camera is there, it's never real. Like people are always in the back of their mind, no matter how much it becomes invisible and kind of just wallpaper on the wall. You're representing something that could be edited and put out there that will define you in the public eye. You're going to change. I was yelling at my dog earlier, and I'm like, oh my God, I hope the neighbor didn't hear me yelling because they're going to think I'm crazy, but you get frustrated. So, but if I had a camera on me for a reality show, I'd walked up to him and I would have had a calm talk with him instead of telling him like, stop it. So like cameras change who we are. And so when a camera is present, they're like Paul Levesque. Oh, there's camera there. Well, I'm going to be the uncle who says good match to everybody because I'm a good, positive guy. But if the camera wasn't there and there weren't other people, he'd be like, oh, let's go talk, or if it's LA Knight, you just do it anyway.
Yeah. Well, and too, like I'm a high school teacher is my job. And so constructive criticism is what I have to give students. And a lot of times I think of it as in their writing, where that's where I see the biggest range from kids, where some are really good and some are really struggling. But my students who are really struggling, I always want to say something good before I give them the constructive criticism, because it starts the conversation off where, oh, well, he thought this was a good idea, but now I need to fix these things. And there's probably a lot of, we look at all these people as adults, but adults take criticism worse than kids a lot of times, But I hope they have trust in their agents and producers, where I hope right now they're talking to Charlotte and Jade and saying, this is what you should have done. This was wrong. This was not done well. Why did you do this? We shouldn't have decided to do that, because that's how you get better.
Yeah. Sadler goes, I've been saying for months, women's division on the main roster has been awful in the ring. And Derrick, I hope what you just said is true. I like it. Just out of fairness to Sol Ruca, send her away until she gets better. Like everything's wrong about what she's doing in the ring, and it's not transferring well. Mr. Rock City says, I believe the setup looks so choreographed because Charlotte never actually does that move. That's part of it. The corner spot, setting up the power bomb in the corner. Yes. Jade appeared to hold her wig. I don't know about did that happen? Durrell says, since Charlotte came back from her knee injury and had been wearing that knee brace, she has been unsure, and especially with her changing her body to be smaller and slimmer. And I will say, if we stipulate to the fact that it can make your matches suck, if she literally is going, I don't want to go through another year of rehab.
Yeah.
And so people bow when I walk in the building. I'm a legend. I'm a Flair. I got my signature moves. Nobody here's all that good anymore. Like, I mean, not some people are better than good, but there's a lot of people who aren't good who are getting TV time. I don't want to go through. I mean, Robert Smith on Minnesota Vikings, running back when the Vikings were having their great 15-1 season back in the late 90s. He had like multiple knee injuries when he got tackled out of bounds and his knee would pop. Finally, he could have gone through a year rehab after his last knee injury and played 3 more years and made a lot more money. He's like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to risk any injury. I want to be able to walk when I'm in my 50s and 60s. And I have enough money to be happy enough. I don't want to risk another knee injury. But that's football. But Charlotte doesn't have to make that choice. She can go, I just won't do those moves that put me at risk. I will be more careful in what I do. Now, you can still get injured, but I think we don't know, but that might be the mindset, Derrick.
Well, and I think you just touched it, Wade, is instead of doing the old moves that you used to do and not doing them as well, or doing them in a way that looks cautious and safe and hence not part of competition, have the courage to try something new and do the things you can do better.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are things Chris Jericho can't do, but he can do a Judas effect because it's just spinning around with your elbow in the air. Like, I mean, you introduce Ricky Steamboat used to crossbody, and then he said, no, I'm going to do I'm going to jump on top rope and do a chop to the head.
And for Charlotte, I'd just be like, stop jumping off the top rope, start throwing better suplexes.
Yep.
And and work on your chops to where instead of like chest taps, they look like they have impact, and that can be half your offense.
Absolutely.
Yep. Or don't do the move your dad did because in the crowd goes woo. Just get them engaged in a different way.
Yeah.
Adam Kidd says, ask any bodybuilder, single-digit body fat is unhealthy for many reasons. This goes back to our Finn Balor conversation. Goodfellas says, Finn Balor looks healthy to me.
He looks amazing. I don't know if it's healthy.
Yes, yep. That's what Powder Repeat says. Finn looks amazing. Chris Rucker goes, my girlfriend thinks Finn Balor looks just fine, whatever that means. But Standard Deviation says, Finn looks unnatural to me. And by the way, if Chris Rucker didn't know, Crofton says, it means she likes him. Adam Kidd saying you need fat for your brain as well as hormone balance. Yeah.
So and Wade, if it makes you feel better about Finn Balor's physique, I just listened to a podcast with him, and why he probably looks more ripped now, surprisingly, is he just reintroduced carbs into his diet. So he was like a keto guy who wasn't eating any carbs for so long. And if you've conditioned your body like that, and then you start introducing carbohydrates, then often your muscles actually pop a little more, and it looks like his abs probably pop more because he's eating carbohydrates.
Wow. Okay. Body does weird things when you go one direction and change up. Yeah, it can have almost a counterintuitive effect at first, at least. Yeah. So Sean, go ahead. You've been patient over there.
Chris brought up something else that I disagree in the sense of he brought up. I wish they would have had the Charlotte Jade match at SummerSlam. Not me, Chris. Sorry, buddy. Imagine that match being a SummerSlam. Oh, God bless America. That would have been bad. And I know. I mean, I'd rather have it on this show than have it on a SummerSlam. I mean, yes, it's a SummerSlam tight match of 2 stars. I get what he's saying. But after watching the match tonight, no, I'm so glad it was not on SummerSlam. I'm thankful that it wasn't. But Alexa, and the other thing I didn't like is Alexa bringing out the stupid Lily doll. Oh, my God. I thought we were past that, too.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought that was over. And I know Tatum came back, and that's part of what. But I was just like, man, I don't need that Lily. I know it's merch. I know they make a lot of money. I get it. But I don't need Alexa with the Lily doll. I like Alexa. I don't like Lily. Jeez. Stop. But the last thing I was going to bring up.
Before you do, Sean, before I transition, here's a comment worth talking about. Chris Rucker goes, I do feel annoyed they wasted the first Charlotte Jade one-on-one match on a random SmackDown after building it for nearly a damn year. Are we missing the big story here? We're talking about a move or whatever. Like, why is this on a random SmackDown?
That's why.
I'll introduce an idea why it might have been.
Yeah.
Is you show a match that gives people like a taste of what it could look like with an inconclusive finish, where you feel that people will get excited enough about it the next time it comes around, they want to see it again. Unfortunately, because the output was not what they had hoped, this doesn't make anybody want to see the match on a bigger stage again.
And I'm putting this on a pedestal it doesn't belong on, but it is I think it's still appropriate for the sake of the analogy. They did not put Hulk Hogan against Ultimate Warrior against each other on TV for the first time with an inconclusive finish to tease people for their WrestleMania match.
Good point.
Like, I think that's what Chris Rucker's getting at. That this isn't just another match. This is a match that if WWE said, this is special. Think about Charlotte's stature. Think about Jade's aura. The egos. Sal, the first time the bell rings and these two are opposite is Cena Rock. Like, make it that.
Yeah.
And it should have been SummerSlam. If they were willing to do this match 6 days later, there shouldn't have been a ladder match. That's just been a showcase match at SummerSlam instead. If the idea is we need to get to it quickly and then do a conclusive finish. That's what sucks is they painted themselves into this corner that they feel like can't do clean finishes because that's the end of it. It's like, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Best of 7 series in the NBA do not end after one game. Nobody goes, oh, it's over after it's 1-0 or even 2-0. Like, it's okay. Like, no, it's a 7-game series for a reason. Jade can beat Charlotte clean, and that becomes a sports story. What happened? How did it happen? Can it be repeated? Was it a fluke? Did Charlotte have a mindset here? There are sports stories to tell, but you have to do clean finishes, not run-ins constantly and distraction finishes. Tell sports stories, and they could have done that here. Anyway.
And Charlotte's character, and that's what I wanted to go back to really fast. So Charlotte's, I appreciate what they've done to make her character seem a little more interesting. I've liked that part of it. Like, they made the fans have gotten behind her. And now granted that she was a star, they technically did, but they were not getting behind her. And when the Rhea stuff happened, they were not. They wanted to boo her, and so now they're behind her. They cheer, and that's cool. So I like that. But I want her to be more confident in what she's doing too. If she's going to be in the ring, be more confident in what you're doing. Have trust in that it's going to all work out.
Rude Dog says, by the way, I think the doll is just brought back because of Paxley and her doll obsession.
I think so too. Yeah.
They need to introduce that in SmackDown canon. There's people.
And there's time. There's time. The follow up. There's time.
I'm not being critical. I'm just saying they need to. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. No, true. The last topic I was going to bring up, and I was curious what you guys thought about it, was going to the tag team and Fatal Influence. Again, I love what Fatal Influence is doing. Like, I like them a lot. I like, again, JC's on the mic was so good tonight. You just want to boo the heck out of her. It's awesome. I love it. And then the match was what it was. Of course, I'm not gonna, it was not the greatest, but it was. I mean, it was passable, but it was just, that's what it was. I think Chelsea, I love that she got her moment at SummerSlam. I thought it was a cool moment. I was totally good with it. I thought it was the right move. But I don't need Chelsea to have a long reign. That's not what she's there for. I think she's there to have Tiffany's, I think it's going to lose to JC Jane. I think JC needs to win the U.S. title. I think that's a good start for her to start on the main roster, get a mid-card title and build that up. And then I think Tiffany, again, should turn on Chelsea. I think Tiffany should turn. She needs to be a heel badly. And I think it's going to help people get behind Chelsea in that way. She'll lose the title, I think, to Tiffany, but I think it's okay because Tiffany, I could have her with a title as a heel because it fits into her character. And then when Rhea gets back, that's fine. I don't like title switches like that, but I think that's a good way to do it because I think Chelsea got her moment, but she's not ready to be a long-term champion right now. She's not there yet. She can get there maybe down the road. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but Tiffany needs to turn heel, and that's how you would get there. But I wanted you to think of what they've done with Fatal Influence, Chelsea, all that, just going into that whole stuff.
Go ahead, Derrick.
So I thought the match was fine. My only misgiving about the match was in the planning, and that is I think we all know that Tiffany's a lot more likely to turn on Chelsea than Chelsea's going to turn on Tiffany, right? And so then I was like, well, why is Chelsea taking the heat? And why was the hot tag and all the shine spots given to Tiffany? And also, why does Chelsea take the loss? Because I know a lot of people support Chelsea being champion. I'm not one of them because I think she's a valuable character on television. I don't like her as a credible champion because just that. She lacks credibility. But if you're going to fix that, first of all, her ring work needs to be better to prove credibility, but also the way that matches are set up can help her build credibility. And giving her the hot tag and have all her nice moves and then tagging into Tiffany and having Tiffany take the fall, first of all, that serves the purpose of Chelsea getting the shine.
Right.
And then also it takes it where Tiffany's the one taking a loss who doesn't need to be protected because she's the one who's going to turn on Chelsea anyways. So the way that was set up was confusing to me. Counterintuitive to, if you know that Chelsea's the one that the fans support, why not have her build up to the hot tag to her and let her shine? Because that's what the crowd wants.
Yeah, and the theory is, Sadler version 3 goes, I think the story is going to be that Chelsea's a weak champion, so that there's a huge target on her back, and I don't mind that. It's a unique story. So they're deciding to portray Chelsea as weak, as a fluke interim champion, and maybe that turns into something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a vision for how to see it through, but it doesn't make sense otherwise. You know what I mean? Like that seems like that is, whether it is a good decision that makes sense in a few weeks or not, I think that might be why, because otherwise, you're right, Derrick. Why would you do it? Darrell says Tiffany needs to be a heel, but she needs to be far away from any title because she needs to come back from how bad she's been as a wrestling character. Yeah, I mean,
a heel could fix that, though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And I'm interested. Like, I think most people would agree. Tiffany has been a failed babyface. She was floundering, and now it went from she was a floundering babyface to now I would say that she's a failure as a babyface. But the heel run might be the thing that reinvigorates her. And if you put her against Chelsea, that's like the perfect combination to give her real heat. Is if she turns on Chelsea, she's turning on her friend, and then all of those characteristics of her that kind of get people not to like her, they are just going to have a flashlight shined on them, and they're going to be highlighted with glitter. I mean, it's going to be hard to ignore. And I think that may be the best thing for it. It might reinvigorate her wrestling ability too, because wrestling as a heel is a lot different as wrestling as a babyface.
Wait, can I ask a question too?
Mm-hmm.
When Tiffany was kind of not giving her the light at the time of day, did I miss something? Because they did all of a sudden become friends very quickly. Like, did I miss where Tiffany really decided, hey, I want to be friends with Chelsea, like in storyline? Did I miss something along?
I almost
the way?
feel like you're asking a sarcastic joke question, because you didn't miss anything. And when Javier was on, he's like, I asked him, I said, I know you just were catching up, so you watched like 6 shows in 4 days.
Gosh,
did you miss? Was there something that I fast forwarded past or forgot about? He's like, nope. I watched.
They needed to tell that. They should have told that story better. They should have done a better
100%. They skipped that chapter. So the story tonight was Chelsea was very gracious to Tiffany, and said, you're a blonde bombshell of a best friend. Tiffany came out and Green said, I'm sorry for what happened. You know what happened, but our friendship's stronger. Just because I won, it doesn't have to be a problem. And she wanted to make a toast to strong female friendships. And then that's when Tiffany said, I actually wanted to talk to you about something. And then Fatal Influence interrupted. So Tiffany is likely going to say, I am not at peace with it. I want a chance to beat you for this title. And now does Chelsea go, but I thought our friendship, I don't know. Like, they have to, maneuver that, navigate that in a way where they don't want to fight the headwind. So Tiffany should be heel, Chelsea the babyface. So what is Tiffany going to say, and how is she going to say it so that fans don't think she has a good case? Like, Cody has a good case. He should get a rematch against Punk, and Punk's cool with it. How are they going to make the case that Tiffany's a heel for asking for it? And I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think they clearly showed that's the direction they're going, and Fatal Influence interrupted before we could get what Tiffany wanted to ask her. Okay, Sean, go ahead. Yeah, real quick.
No, let's say I wanted to get off. I just want to say I'll get in the chat. I'll probably miss a little bit of time with you guys because I'm going to be going on vacation next week, so I probably miss some shows. But it was just sad. But I'll keep up with them on YouTube. And but I love what you got. Go VIP. It's already been like a few years since you've been on YouTube, which is crazy, by the way. I could not believe that when I went back and watched some videos. Like, holy crap, it's been that long. But yeah, Derrick, appreciate you. Always fun being on with you guys, and I'll get back in the chat.
Let's go to Tennessee.
There it is. There's the thing.
I wanted Sean's reaction. He cut out. He hung up.
Talking to Sean. Talking to Sean. Talking to Sean.
It's kind of catchy.
It is. There it is. I found it. All right. Cool. All right. Let's bring Darrell in, and we'll, after we talk to Darrell, we'll see if there's anything else we want to sneak in Oh, Sean, but there's Sean. I had no idea you were going to do that. Sean, I tried having you not hang up. I was like, hold on, and you were gone. All right. Oh, it's a banger. LOL, says good fella. Yes. All right. Darrell, we'll talk to Darrell, and then Derrick, you and I can see if there's any straight comments we want to make, and we'll wrap up. Darrell, welcome. Good to talk to you.
How y'all doing tonight? Enjoying the conversation as usual.
Darrell, do you want a song?
Nope.
Oh, really? Okay. I can put my on
okay.
it. Okay. All right.
Thank you, though, but no, I'm okay.
All right. Well, I can't say you might not get one. I'm not. I won't have anything to do with it. I'm just saying now that you said you don't want it, I'm going to spike Darrell. I'm going to make a song for him. All right. Go ahead. What's on your mind?
To get back to what y'all was just talking about, because this is a big part of what I want to talk about. The reason why I said Tiffany should be far away from the title, and I agree she should be a heel, but the digression of her character as a whole had taken down even her in-ring work. Remember when she first came in, her in-ring work kept her while you like, okay, they can keep her up there, even though at the time she was a heel, but her heel character and her face character seemed unrealistic because she still talked in that same Barbie type of way. The same stuff that people gave Charlotte for years. She was even worse than Charlotte.
I have moved on from that, Darrell. Why do you have to keep bringing that up?
Yes. And I think she needs to go away from that main event scene because she's been there since she got there, and regress so she can figure out how she wants to present her character. Maybe look at how she present herself on Twitch when she's streaming and stuff like that. Something different just come around. As tonight, Charlotte and Jay might had a bad match altogether, but that earlier promo that Charlotte gave to me was the best promo I've ever seen her give on the main roster. And that's because of how genuine she feels now, that people want to see her as a babyface chasing a heel or chasing a title or chasing whatever. And the things that she was saying before are now getting over because she feels so genuine because of how she has been with Alexa Bliss. I give a lot of that to how Alexa Bliss softened her up too. That's why I like they put Tatum Paxton with it. When y'all hear me say that, do y'all agree? And I'll move on to something else. Add something else to this after y'all.
Derrick.
I'm glad that you brought up Charlotte's promo because I thought the same thing. And she did this, which is one of my favorite promo styles too. She builds up Jay, talks about how good she is, and that she's special, and then she makes it personal and turns to the camera and then gives her parting line in a very effective manner.
Yep.
Like 30-second promo, like that's what they teach in 30-second promo class. And so I thought that was great. As for Tiffany having to slide down the card if she makes the heel turn, part of me agrees with you, Darrell, because I don't think she's earned a main event spot. But I think the heat when she turns on Chelsea could be so apparent that the momentum of it would deserve a main event spot.
I want her second from the top as a heel, but not the champion. I think there's
Fair.
I would have the title be represented by somebody who's not in a grudge feud, who's not doing a kind of performative character heel, who can't back it up in other ways and rise to the occasion. To like whatever Tiffany does when she turns on Chelsea and is a heel is going to make her character better because she's a natural heel. But I don't know that she's somebody that you want to be banking on to have those matches that a champion should have. And I think there's just others who are better. And I don't know. I mean, I'm hypocritical saying this, but I don't know if she deserves it. Like I'm waiting for a call from Hollywood. Like I don't give
and
the
that's
title.
What I thought too.
Yeah. Like invest in, give the prestige of a title run to somebody who's hungry. And this is their goal. Now, I wouldn't have that view if I thought Tiffany would sell tickets like as champion compared to just being a second from the top heel. I think she makes as much money for WWE and draws as much if she's a snotty heel who fans take joy in seeing her not become champion, and she takes out her frustrations on others and acts, like she is better than everybody, but she's not.
And I think a positive aspect of Tiffany, I'll say, is, and this is in defense of her underperforming for the last year and a half, I don't think she's got very good opponents who fit style and who are able to complement her style. Her best matches were against Becky Lynch in NXT. Becky Lynch was one of those wrestlers who is going to make you better. And if they turn Tiffany heel, Rhea Ripley is one of those wrestlers who's going to make you better. And babyface Rhea Ripley against Tiffany, I think is going to be a really strong match. A heel Tiffany against a babyface Io Sky, I think that's a really exciting match. I think right now as wrestling a babyface, she hasn't been put in there with heels who can carry her to shining up the way that she needs to be shined up to stand out. So she's been undercut by a weak division is in defense of her.
Go ahead, Darrell.
Now, I'm glad that y'all brought up Heat, and I would say one thing to that. Even though I think she could probably get back what's in the ring, but what's going to immediately hurt her is the character and what you have to present yourself in the ring, on the mic, just around the scene, because you got to think we're in WWE. They're not going to give them many matches, and they're not going to allow her to showcase the matches that probably could get her over where she don't have to talk and do that much. She going to have to carry some of that, and that's going to hurt that and not getting the reaction that you want from the crowd that you could just genuinely get if she would just give it in the ring time and show people what she can do in the ring. Now, going to the Heat that y'all was talking about, this transition to the next thing, I think right now, especially on SmackDown, since SmackDown seeming more like the storytelling show, they have an opportunity to make at least 4 new women. They don't have to be brand new women fresh out of NXT, but just new people. I think one of those spots could potentially be Jade, because you have Charlotte that's on the tail end. We can say that she on the tail end. You have no Naomi, you have no Bianca, and Rhea just got hurt. You can bring up 4 new people to get that spot, and I think a person who you can use is Chelsea Green, since she's beloved and people are behind her, and give her a month or so run where people been coming at her like she's an undeserving champion. She's not serious. We don't believe in her, because I think it's a character that can morph up out of that, because to me she got a little bit of Mick Foley, Cactus Jack type of style in her, where she feels like she's the Mick Foley character, who Mick Foley was the fan of the wrestling and stuff like that, and you can maybe transition that to a Cactus Jack type of feel from ladies' perspective that you haven't seen. But you would want that heat to go to somebody new, like a JC Jane or Blake Monroe, or somebody else that you feel like that you can pull it off of and give them a run with the title. Wow, since they already building the division right now, is circling between Jade anyway, because she carried most of the segments as women. But how do y'all feel about that? And who would be like 3 people outside of Jade that y'all will boost up to that? I think Blake Monroe, since she's already have something with those 2 women, especially if she calls maybe Tiffany to lose the title against JC Jane, that'll help JC Jane move that title, and then you can build up a few and heat onto somebody like her who could probably use it.
Derrick.
I want to be more of a fan of Blake Monroe than I am. Her NXT run, the best way I could describe it is she fit in rather than standing out. I thought JC Jane is a lot better of a performer than Blake Monroe is. Because in AEW, the big thing is they don't focus on the moments between the moves. And so she would just kind of hit moves and then strike 1 or 2 poses. When she was purposely asked to slow down and take time in between her spots and her moves, I don't think she stood out nearly as much as I thought she would. Not to say that when she doesn't get to the main roster, when she's under a new director with new agents and producers, maybe they're able to find that thing into her that allows her to stand out more. Because you'll notice this when she came in NXT, and I know a lot of people are like, how could you talk bad about Blake Monroe? She came in at NXT and her level was this high. Every successive match that she had, the heat behind her and the excitement for her lessened every time, though she was given substantial time on television to stand out. She didn't, right? So if I was given a choice on new people from the roster who deserve a chance, I think JC Jane has a lot more attributes that I think would get over on television than pretty much anybody else who's fresh on SmackDown. So that would be my choice. You, Wade?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what's going on in NXT, and we had some chat comments on it earlier, I don't have faith that in the NXT environment, whoever's getting a push, whoever's having the matches in that context, in that setting, that it's going to be transferable in a way. I think Soruka is an extreme example because she's so acrobatic, but the fact that she got called up and others didn't, I think is revealing and symptomatic of a mindset, which is we need women to look a certain way and wrestle a certain way with high spots or flashiness. And I don't have like great faith in a lot of them, but like when you have Julia and Stephanie Vaquer, like, and Steph just came back, and Julia, but there's people who are more well-rounded, and to me, like, go with the proven wrestlers and try to repackage them a little bit more than bring fresh faces up for the sake of being fresh faces. Because I don't know, with a sample size of what I've seen in NXT and then what we're seeing about the people who are called up, I mean, I don't have great, like, I should be able to rattle off a few names, Darrell, that I'm like, oh, do that. But I'm going back to the names that I feel have more experience and need to be repackaged. I bring freaking Natalya back to have, like, before I would push some of these NXT wrestlers who would think it's all about acrobatics and awkwardness until you get to your next dazzling spot. There's just a problem with the training, and they're not going to bring people in from the outside very often anymore because they have their whole system set up, and there's not this robust indie scene. And AEW has the portal to the international wrestlers who can go and are more athletic and work a different style. So, I mean, the chat, Goodfellas says Jordan Grace, you need to figure out. Get Blake. Powder Pieces, yep, get Blake in the ring and get her some wins. I don't know. I don't have a great answer.
And I don't have a lot of faith in Julia. In fact, when I talk to people about Julia, they all say, well, she was great in Japan. And I was like, tell me a match. Give me some evidence. Mm-hmm. Because what I've noticed about a lot of these people, they haven't actually watched Julia matches. They've watched Julia highlight reels.
Interesting.
And that is not having a match. And then they'll point to one or two matches, and I was like, that's a different context than what you see in WWE. And to their in WWE's defense of not pushing Julia, when she was given more than 5 minutes on television, the crowd died. And so if you're given 7 minutes and the crowd dies, they're not going to give you 12 next time. And that's what they saw. They made her the U.S. champion. They didn't give a lot of chances, but the few chances she got, she did not succeed.
Kelly Wells will be co-host in, I think, 2 weeks on our SmackDown post show. And obviously he's the guy to talk to and really get into all this stuff we're talking about NXT style and the call-ups. By the way, Satellite Vision 3, I put this on the screen. I think the flippy-do reputation of NXT women is overstated. The only ones I can think of are recently are Sol and Kalani Jordan.
It's been more. It's been
more. I'll say JC wrestles a different style, and it's to her benefit because it's not the flippy stuff. But what she does has impact. That rolling forearm she does, the pump kick, basic stuff done well, to me stands out a lot more than flashy stuff that doesn't connect.
Yep. Derrick Mitchell says it appears Julia and Jordan Grace both were highly anticipated signings, and the sample size they've been underwhelming in the sample size so far.
And Julia only had one good match in NXT that I thought really stood out, and it was a 4-way where you're just hitting moves. You hit a move and you get out. And so I think that was like the rap on Lash Legend too, is when I ask people, like, what was the match that stood out at Lash Legend? They'll talk about the Elimination Chamber last year. She just hit moves. She just hit spots. And then they talk about these other big tag matches or multi-man she did in NXT. That's just hitting your best stuff. That doesn't translate as a champion in a 7-minute match.
I would say this, though. I watched NXT for a long time. I even watched NXT UK. Okay, I agree with you, Wade. Those NXT, that's why I said anybody, just somebody new, represent new, because I felt like when they went to the original 2.0 scene and Vince got heavily involved in it, and he sent Bruce down there to do a lot. And I think Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, he just started going along with that. He kept that into how he was doing, because at the time when they had him originally start booking, he was booking NXT UK. And that was a much of the time of Gunther's reign into Ilya Dragunov reign. That's when you had those Ilya and and Gunther matches that was high impact, and then they had great stories to go along to them. And he done, since he took it over NXT, he's done totally different and set the people up totally different. I think Lash Legend has gotten better since she came to the main roster. Julia, I don't think she got the opportunity because they didn't, what Paul Heyman used to say, I'm gonna hide your weaknesses and I'm gonna highlight what you're good at. They highlighted her weaknesses and didn't give off her what she's good at, because she has an aura. She had an aura about it, the presentation and stuff like that. They gave Stephanie McClure more of that aura, and they allowed that to showcase more, especially the move and that people liked and stuff like that. And that would gave her opportunity to win over the crowd. JC Jane, I like her. I respect her. But like those big box office movies that sell a lot week one, but then they drop like 70% after week one, so they don't make. That's what happened to her in her introduction, because even in NXT, she didn't get over with the crowd because of sometimes how dry she is. That's why I would love to see what they could do, like giving a true opportunity with Jordan Grace or something like that. Somebody and put them up against people. That's why I said maybe give a Blake Monroe, because outside of they didn't do well with her in NXT, she knows who her character is. She knows who she is as a person. So if you put people up against a person who know who they are as a person, it helps the other person that you're trying to bring along, and you give the crowd an opportunity to see who they like. And that's what they have not been doing for the last year and a half with the men nor women. Giving somebody that's what you were talking about with Randy Orton. He's telling you a Randy Orton story that he's been telling for 25 years now, and not telling you a base character. I'm a heel Randy Orton, and I'm doing this, and my job to get over Cody. And that's what's hard with the women right now.
Do you want to say something, Derrick? Yeah,
yeah, I think an easy solve for it when you talk about the transfer from NXT to the main roster, and a lot of these women are faltering. I think one of the issues is, especially when you're working with people from scratch, they are at the mercy of listening to an agent and getting comfortable with an agent to put together their matches. So they have these agents they're really comfortable with in NXT who put all their stuff together, and they're comfortable with the talent, and the talent's comfortable with them. And then they get a transfer to the main roster where they're working with different agents at a different speed with a different time allocation to what they're doing. And that, I think, is where it's falling apart. And
what about, and I've been thinking about this lately, and I don't think there's so many people just going to discount it without it actually being executed with somebody who has a vision for how to do it right. But this was, I think, created by an email last week about AEW. And what about squash matches? Let's get women who really can work. They really can take bumps. They know where to be. They're in the right place at the right time. They get timing, and they're the jobbers. Go with the indie scene, bring some people back who you didn't think you could market well, but they can work, and get them in the ring on television. And people go, well, no one will watch. That's not true. I just don't buy that. People like ring entrances. They like larger-than-life personalities. They like signature moves that work. And by the way, they like seeing people take bumps, and they like short matches. People like short matches. It's instant gratification. I get to see a ring entrance, someone I love. Their signature moves get established. The announcers have a few talking points. You don't do the 30-second or 1.5 minute one. You actually tell a little bit of a story. You go 3 or 4 minutes, no commercial breaks. So format-wise, it's a little bit of a challenge because of the way that they're kind of stuck in their format of double box breaks. But I think getting women who can really work, who are good hands in the ring, and giving these women who you believe are marketable a chance to work with them, even just for that 3-4 minutes, it serves multiple purposes. One, you just have a chance to have these women stand out who they are and what they do, because there's so many sort of semi-interchangeable looking women now who get called up, and they sort of have a gimmick. It feels sort of performative, and then it doesn't really establish itself before it's thrown right into a story like we saw tonight. So I don't know. Derrick, what do you think about that?
I like the idea, and I don't think you actually need to get jobbers. I think you have women on your roster who, if they're expected to do a match that's 3 and 4 minutes and take good bumps, that should be their job.
Well, it's kind of what Julia does.
Yeah, well, Ivy Nile, like Ivy Nile on television.
Yes, I was going to say her.
Let me be clear. When I say jobbers, I mean women who they put a lot of effort into training, or they never hired because they don't have the right look. But you don't want them to be, I mean, part of it is a jobber should be semi-pathetic or not super flashy, but really good at taking bumps. And if you get a handful of them, just like they get an introduction, they don't get a ring introduction. You know they're going to lose, and every once in a while you tell the 1, 2, 3 good story, whatever, or bear hurt story, whatever. But you can use people who are on the roster, but they just always lose. You know, they just always lose. I mean, but give reps to women, let them establish. But the point is there's a different structure to a match. You're trying to be even with somebody who's also getting a push and they're protecting. And the flow of that is you do your spots, now it's my turn. You do your spots, now it's my turn. You try to fit in the flashy moves. Make it more of a one-way street. One person's job is to take bumps for you. Maybe get a hope spot in if they're a babyface, and then but you get to do your moves, but in a flow with somebody who's a good hand, who's given up on pushing to the top, but you shouldn't discard them because they have talent. And I don't know who those would be right off the top of my head, but
I can name a few. That's Candice LeRae. That's Ivy Nile.
Yep.
And there's probably more that Kiana James when she's not doing anything. And also, like, when I was training down in Arizona, they had what they called the jobber match. And there was days in training because a lot of those guys in Arizona, they were the guys who would do the TV matches for WWF Shotgun back in the day. And the jobber match was like this very simple format. And if you watch it, it's like completely the same every time. The jobber has one hope spot, which was either like a drop kick or a jawbreaker, goes up to the top rope. And if it's more than 3 minutes, you get a crossbody off the top rope. They kick out and then they hit the finish and it's over. Right. And that was for the babyface who's jobbing to a heel. But I think like with Candice LeRae or Ivy Nile, you pick like the 1 or 2 moves that they get to do. And everything else is one-way traffic. Where they get beaten, it's meant to highlight the one person.
Yep.
You add that drop kick or that whatever, insecurity or whatever, just to give a little bit of hope. And then you cut it off and you take it home. Yep. And I think what they would be surprised at is by doing those style of matches, the person who is doing the job, they get to be a good bumper. They get to be a good bump and feeder. Their offense, they make their offense matter because there's very little of it, and they get a lot better a lot faster than you.
Yeah. It's hard to do it off the radar and then come back and be credible also. But so it almost has to be people you've given up on as the baseline acceptance of their role.
But I think like Ivy Nile's a good example because she's just stuck in my head. Her against Lash, where she gets 1 move or 2 moves, I don't think like buries her any lower than she is now.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That's not going to hurt her. In fact, I think people would see like the 1 move she got and she's like, oh, Ivy showed fight. You know?
Tonight's show would have benefited from another match, no matter how short. Like, I mean, it's just like I was thinking of people who paid tonight. Did they get dark matches? Like, there wasn't a lot.
They only got 3.
Yeah.
And wrestling fans, I think we need to call ourselves on the carpet. When we see those matches, stop like saying this person got jobbed out. Like Julia loses in 3 minutes and like this massive crime. I'm like, would you rather not be on TV for 4 or 5 weeks? You know,
factually speaking, she has sort of become a jobber, but they don't have a spot that serves a purpose. Because if you lose quickly, you're being buried, as opposed to if you lose quickly, it's because your opponent was better than you, but you're a regular, and that's part of our format. That's part of the cadence of how we build characters and tell stories.
There's also this. Instead of looking out for people's feelings, is Lash Legend and Julia in an 8-minute match that's meant to get Lash over? Is it more likely to be successful in 8 minutes or 3.5 minutes?
Yep.
The answer is easy, 3.5 minutes. So screw somebody's feelings. Do what is meant to accomplish the goals.
Or put somebody different in there who is just there to lose.
Who you can trust. Who you can trust.
Exactly. Right? Yes, exactly. Yeah. What about this? Standard Deviation says so many NXT wrestlers stand the same way. Pause with the camera in the same exact angle. Wait the same amount of time, and then their head and smile in the same way, and then suddenly turn away and go back to their opponent. Yeah. Yes, I mean there's such a routine.
But to Standard Deviation's point, to add on to that, you practice that enough where it does look unnatural. To when you start feeling it, it comes natural. Because all those guys, like Javon Evans is a great example. Now he's got this great authentic fire up. You know how many times that guy was told probably to fire up in these ways, and it just looks silly and stupid. Now what you can tell the difference in it, he's practiced it, and now it's coming natural and he's feeling it. So initially, it's like Braun Breaker is a great example. What is the biggest difference between when Braun Breaker debuted in NXT 2.0? When he would hit his move, he would turn toward the camera and he'd be like, "Rawr!" And it looked like so performative that now when he like nails Joe Hendry and he pops up and he goes crazy, it feels like when a linebacker sacks the quarterback and gets excited. He practiced it to the point where it became natural.
Yeah, but you don't want to look like there is a code written into the video game where you drop in a signature move and then drop in the likeness of the wrestler, but the motion is the same. If you're looking from above down at it, there's a move in the ring, and then you can see them, the standard deviation says, turn to the camera and do their thing, and then they turn back, and it almost looks like it is part of actual code in a video game rather than a human being just interacting naturally. And there's so much of what that they're doing. There's the same. It's always to the opposite side of the announcers that you do the dives. Now you've got the timekeepers area where you do those spots. I want things to look a little more awkward. Like I want there to be like something where the hard camera can't really see what's happening. Like I was like a little bit more of a sense of chaos and less polish. We see in WWE and Real last year how proud they are of they did it mostly to humiliate Chris Park, but and manufactured something that wasn't really a big deal, but. They're so proud of how meticulous it is, and it just feels antiseptic and planned out. And I know that, but we have TV cues to hit and a network to form, fit it within a format and all that. But it's like there is a way to do things that doesn't feel like it's just programmed code. And so much of that is the problem that we're seeing in NXT now is these wrestlers haven't been on the indie scene, just working, like you say, naturally reacting to a crowd without a hard time cue. And they're scared to go over. They're scared. Let me not go over like when. They're scared to go over their time. They're scared to deviate from exactly what needs to be done. And everybody's on edge about it. And there's no natural flow. There should be more pliability and flexibility. Easy for me to say because I'm not trying to make sure the main event segment doesn't get all the time it needs. But it's gone too far, and I would pull back. Derrick.
But I think within those time frames, and you see this development in wrestlers as well. Initially, what you're doing is you're just doing it. And then you start actually doing it, but you're performing. And then you're not only performing, you're feeling the performance. And that range from doing to performing to feeling, some guys never get to that feeling mode. A lot of people don't ever get to that feeling mode. But if you get enough reps under your belt and you reflect on the performances you had, that's when you get to that next level. But sometimes reflection requires a coach or someone who's telling you, how'd you feel about that? What did you feel when you hit that move? When did you feel the crowd come up? When did you feel the crowd start to come down? But just asking those questions and have somebody think about it, that's when you start actually becoming a master of the craft.
That's what Steve Austin always talked about. He's like, we need just like house show matches where you're feeling it. You're acting in the crowd. You're calling an audible. You're calling it in the ring. There's a structure to the beginning. There's a couple key points in the match. There's the finish, but just go dance to the music that's pling. And
you know what's sad is the only guys who are allowed to do that nowadays are the guys who are at the main event level who
are self-indulgent.
Well, not only are they self-indulgent, but they know how to do it already. So they're just
that's right. Yeah.
They're practicing a skill they've honed. And I even think some of them, like I noticed this in Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, they got to this extremely high point, and then the crowd actually came down. It's like they lost the crowd right there. And you know that how long Seth Rollins has wrestled, he realized that moment they should have sped it up right after that because they actually lost the crowd. Now they brought him back. But the last thing you want to do when you're climbing up a hill is to allow yourself to lose your footing and start slipping back down. You want to continue that momentum up the hill. But those are the guys who've done it so long, they probably realize that because they felt it. And they're given the opportunity to feel it, not someone to tell you, well, this is how you feel or this is what you do.
You think about when a teenager learns to drive, like everything. Oh my God, I got to think about how to brake. I got to think about the gear. What there's a turn signal, there's a rear view mirror and all that. And like eventually you don't even. I mean, you should be cognizant that you're driving, but things just flow. Things are natural, and you're not thinking about where's the gear shift, which way do I move, where's the turn signal versus the windshield wiper. Like in so much of what we see feels like a kid learning to drive. Yeah, they're just overthinking it. All right, I want to wrap up pretty quick here, Darrell. I know we did a lot of talking there. We've gone way over my time I hope for planned for. It's been good conversation. I'm not dissing that, but I want to keep it kind of short. Next time, instead of you saying I'll take me on last, we'll put you on first so we don't feel like we're rushing you.
Oh, you cool. Hey, I take it last. I stay on and watch the whole show anyway. That's cool. Yeah. And that was the thing that I wanted to talk about the most. So hearing y'all talk about it. Okay. Hey, that was good to do.
Yeah. So nothing else?
Last thing would be just this to add on to what y'all saying. I think Candice LeRae, why she can't be like a jobber to the stars and like top of the mid card. Not she did that and helped EO character develop in NXT when she was that person. And why can't some jobs be a story that they finna tell with that person? That's what I felt with Julia. That could have been the story that they told and just use that online to add to that character, because that's somebody that you could use and maybe need. So stop saying everybody getting jobbed out and allow it to be a story to be told.
Yeah, don't use it as a derisive, pejorative.
Yeah,
it's just like you're not being. It's a role that you're playing that's valuable. It's like, all right, cool. Darrell, thanks.
All right, y'all have a good night.
Yeah, you have a good weekend.
Thanks, Darrell.
Derrick, anything else from tonight's show you definitely like? Baron Corbin, Trick Williams. What are you seeing in these two? A veteran against a new guy from NXT. How does this play into our conversation about the women?
I thought it was a better match than they had at SummerSlam because it didn't have the Yachty interference. And I think with the success of this match, which I did think was successful for these reasons, a lot of people, I think, measure success by how many moves they hit or how many high spots they hit. But if you notice by the end of the match, that crowd was solidly behind Trick and avidly against Baron.
Yep.
That was effective.
And you know what helped is airing a video before the match where Trick said the only reason he has the title is because he cheated and took shortcuts. Yeah. Like, that's not whining and complaining. That's a babyface calling out a heel for walking around with a title that he doesn't deserve. And a cocky heel who should be called out on that helps set the foundation, give fans permission to boo the new guy who's back. I mean, Baron Corbin's easy to boo, but Trick gave people a reason to rally behind him because he got wronged instead of just acting like, well, it's no big deal. It didn't, that's just the way it works.
And it was 15 seconds.
Yep.
And more than worth the time.
Yep.
Well, I thought that was a good and effective match. My only misgivings about it, which I think is still an issue with Trick, is you saw twice in the match where I think Trick is starting to get to the point where when he fires up, he is definitely in that phase where he's like in the pose phase, where it's like, oh, this is when I pose in the corner, right?
Yep.
It's starting to come a little more natural. I do think he's starting to lose the crowd during the heat. And because I watch the international feed on Netflix, they show you what's happening during the commercial break. And so a lot of times that's the heel just putting heat on the babyface, where it's the babyface's job to continue to fight back so the fans have something to watch, right? And there was 2 times, I think one actually happened after the commercial, where Baron brings him up and he's got him in the clinch where he's got him at the back of the head, and you can tell he tells Adam, fight back. And Trick like pauses for like a second and a half and then like gently moves his hands away and then fires back with a few lackluster punches. So I think that's like his next step as a babyface. Is whoever his coach is, when that heel says fire back, you break their hands, you strike, fans start coming alive. You strike, fans come alive a little more. You hit the ropes, you get cut off. It gives the fans the hope where you don't have to do anything in those 3 minutes because you gave them a reason to stay in your match. And I think that's where he needs to improve. But I think Baron Corbin is the right guy when it comes to size, when it comes to his character, to get Trick better at those things that he's lacking right now. So even though they might not be blow-away matches, I do think this is a good matchup for Trick.
We have a super chat from Derrick that I don't think I got to, so let's get this in here. Derrick, thank you again for generosity in the super chat. I've compared Julia's trajectory to WWE's attempt to build the lightweight division around the Great Sasuke in 1997, much like how that experiment didn't pan out and led to the company shifting focus to Taka Michinoku. Derrick, you're nodding on?
Yeah. I remember the Great Sasuke match where I thought it was awesome and the crowd was silent. And there was one, I think it was at the Canadian Stampede pay-per-view, where I was like, oh, yeah, this to me is great, but the crowd does not care.
Yeah. I mean, it is about crowd reactions. I mean, and
Yeah.
but and then WWE leans into that too hard sometimes. It's we're doing cinema. It's like, well, yeah, but it's still okay to like pick up the pace and wrestle and curate your match length down a little bit, just out of courtesy and keeping, like you said, keep the momentum. Take away the spots where you lose that. Sami Zayn was great tonight. We talked a little bit about him, but just want to say the interaction with him and KO, his delivery. Welcome back. No one's happier than me that you're back, but I do want you to acknowledge it's 100% you screwed me. 100% your number one contendership came at my expense. But if you acknowledge it, we can move on. Then KO acknowledges it, and then Sami goes, "Well, you've acknowledged, but did you say you're sorry?" Like it moves the goalpost a little bit, and then KO goes, "I'm sorry that it affected you that way." And so he was a little clever with his wording too.
I just love the way Sami talks with his hands.
Yes.
I think it gets you to pay so much more attention to him. I went to Italy 2 summers ago, and there's the stereotype of Italians talking with their hands.
Yep.
And then we had these tour guides, and they were like all over the place with their hands everywhere we went. And I just thought, as a high school teacher, I need to talk more with my hands because students will pay more attention to me. And so, like, purposely, the last 2 years, I've tried to use more hand gestures when I talk. And Sami's saying, I'm like him. That's what I need to do, right?
Yep.
Like,
yep.
Yes.
Cool. All right, I could go on, but we'll end there. Derrick, thanks so much. Really fun
thanks
conversation.
for having me, Wade. Always appreciate it. Sorry about my dogs interrupting, but
it was great.
They're fast asleep.
That's good. That happens. Yeah, I've got either side of me. My dogs are asleep, although they know when I'm signing off, and they're like, "Ooh, we get a late night snack. Get to go outside." So they know the cadence quite well. PWTorch VIP membership is open, everybody. PWTorchVIPinfo.com. You can get commercial-free versions of our free shows like this one on our VIP podcast feed. It's customizable. You can subscribe to individual shows, clusters of shows that fit certain themes. So that if you want to binge the 90s past cast or our 18 years ago flashback shows, you can have a separate feed for that. And then when you move to get a current post-show analysis, there's that. When there's the signature shows you want to listen to, but maybe you didn't finish, it doesn't get pushed down the feed. It's when you get a full VIP membership, it's really nice, customizable for all the shows we put out. So many perks, an ad-free website too, with all our content, plus exclusive content like our written roundtable reviews of SummerSlam Night 1 and Night 2. PWTorchVIPinfo.com. We'd love your support. Give you a lot in return for that support. Check out Derrick's column at PWTorch and also his SummerSlam reports in the pay-per-view section, PLE section right now at PWTorch. If you like his analysis on this show, his analysis of SummerSlam is waiting for you in written format for every match all weekend. So go check it out. Derrick, enjoy your weekend.
Oh, you too. You too. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Yeah, it's been a stretch. It's been a busy stretch. So I will take a deep breath and come back recharged. You get a 7-day free trial over at Patreon if you're interested in just our podcasts and not our archives. 7-day free trial, patreon.com/PWTorchVIP, or get a full VIP membership at PWTorchVIPinfo.com. Full details on all the benefits and all the different platforms and ways to sign up awaits you. Thanks, everybody.